working there. Almost forgot to put on YouTube Live. Whoops. All right, it'll miss a few minutes. I'll have to repost it or something. Nothing of value was lost in the first few minutes. But anyway, just like you know, I only got to stream one time last week, and that was like to play through Pocket Rocky, and I got through it in like 3 hours. Like when I originally played it several years back, it took like 7-8 hours combined with 2 streams, and that was tough. I remember how much my hands hurt when I was trying to fight Black Mantle, because like lightning dodging is like, if you want true challenge, the lightning dodges in Final Fantasy X are nothing. Trying to dodge his lightning, like, you know, coming towards you and dashing out of the way just to avoid getting hit, is like the real challenge. So, yeah, it's like that's been what's been going on mostly. Is like me just getting stuff ready to have, you know, getting the clothing ready to wear for the wedding, getting to the wedding's, you know, like hotel, you know, hanging out with family that I haven't seen for a while. And it was nice to see them. Like, it felt really nice to meet up with family, because like being 3 hours away from my main family it's been tougher because of schedule weirdness. And thankfully, like when I moved back there, like the internet plan that they have like allows me to have like 300 up and down, so I think it'll be fine with streaming. I have like 600 up and down now, but it's like I don't need that much because I'm not like doing intensive gaming or anything. Maybe if I want to up it eventually I will. Anyway, I just had some, you know, that's just what's been going on. Like thankfully now, like I have like 3 weeks left of work, and then I have like a 10-day period where I could just, you know, some of that's going to be like getting ready to move back home, but a majority of it's going to be must be like, you know, doing a lot of streams, because I need to catch up, man. And I also am trying to do like a moving back drive so I can like help at least assist, you know, with like, you know, any last bills or anything with you know, moving out and stuff. Like I'm saving up and, you know, paying for stuff, but at least having that extra cushion really will help. That's been my goal. And you know, I think the focus of that will be that 10-day period where I stream a lot and like advertise it more. Especially it's like my 9th year of streaming, and I didn't get to celebrate that back in January. Like that's, you know, that's really cool. Like I started with like the most weird way possible using a PS4, because it actually had the capabilities of like doing very, very basic streaming setups. So, and I have to thank it for that, because that really got me to say, hey, I do want to do the streaming thing. I do want to get a PC. And like, I guess COVID kind of cemented that. Like, because like there's so many like things that collided together that helped me get to that, and like have, you know, plus the unemployment that was going on is like it was all like a big help. And you know, I took advantage of what I could. So, and it's like it's gonna be 6 years now, and this PC is still going pretty well. It's like I'm making sure it gets the care it needs. Like I'm not switching to Windows 11 yet until something else, like until they improve it in a certain way. But yeah. Anyway, so first thing is, I never knew about Moist Critical in general until I started watching somebody who like watched some of his rants about stuff, and I first learned about him because Jimmy Davis, a YTPer, did something like King Hark as Moist Critical, so it's pretty funny.
Yeah, baby, that's what I've been paid for. That's what it's all about.
No, no, Link, don't kill him. Hey, Flan, meow. It's just like that's kind of creative. and that's a good way to me to learn about somebody. I know there's like been parodies of that. I know Maximilian Dude has one. Nobody fun. I've seen some of their content, Jumbo. How are you doing? But that I just wanted to share that real quick. But anyway, here's a Capcom CPS promo from VHS. And this was, I don't know what year is this, in the late 1980s. Okay, so 88, 89. Oh man, this is going to be interesting. Yeah, I saw this too. It was like, I want to share it. This is like before everything exploded.
Hello, I'm Bill Cravens, Vice President, Capcom USA. What you're about to see is a film explaining to you the CPS system. 3 years ago, when I joined Capcom, Tujimoto, the president and chairman of the company, explained the phenomena that had happened in the home market in Japan.
Also, if you notice, there, I think that Strider on the left, and I've played Capcom Bully on the right, is like with the rolling ball function. In the original Street Fighter, that's very nice of them. That's very nice of them. That's really cool.
Something that almost killed coin-op in Japan. He didn't want to see that happen in the United States, so he said we have to entertain our customer better. Doing this, he spent the money and developed a chip that we are going to tell you about here. Please pay attention to it. It's something that's important to your business. One other thing I would like to talk to you about is something not dealing directly with Capcom, but with you. We feel that the dollar coin is a must in the United States. The price per play in Japan equals 80 cents. In the country of Spain, it's 40 cents. You have to get involved with your congressman, with your senators. We need the dollar coin. We have been working on a quarter for much too long. It's time that we put a raise in our paycheck by getting higher coinage. Thank you very
So he's just calling for, like, make them pay us pay us more to get more content. Yeah, agreed. That kind of, like, I think other places did not pay attention to that as much. Some did, some didn't, but I've seen it where it was like still 25 and 50 cents. Yeah, I suppose it was, but this is like, yeah, quarters work fine. I don't know, like, when he was still alive. Okay.
very much. Please pay attention to the film.
Unless there's another art. Okay. That's just funny on its face to see that now. It's like, that's aged poorly, especially like, especially now, like, where arcades are like located usually, and free play is like, man, I make my money's worth anyway. Okay. Yeah, it might have been. Hi, Natsume. How you doing?
Capcom, one of the top manufacturers in the coin-op market, is on the move. A move to become #1. A move we'll make together.
I'm glad you guys are explaining this to me, because like then I was like, oh yeah. I mean, I remember as a kid, like, when I had change, I wanted to use it, but like I wasn't fast enough to like beat a game.
Capcom differs from our competition in many ways. We're not a small company by any means.
Hold on a second, playing out something for me. Let me see what this is. Oh, yeah. Yeah, this is
38, 39, 40 quarters. This better be good.
Game over. Please deposit 40 quarters.
What a rip!
Oh, yeah. So good point. Like somebody actually thinks, so actually somebody did like a reimagining of that Waterworld game, like, available for people to play, and it's really tough. Shout outs to a real one. So Macaw45 is, a cam streamer that does a lot of retro, but he's a very funny Australian dude that just that just plays whatever. Yeah, yeah. Thank you for the itch.io link. It's like it, like,
30.
but that basically is like just brought my attention to things like, oh yeah, I should talk about that because I don't think everybody knows about it. It's just a reimagining of that game, but like to the fullest extent, and it's pretty entertaining to hear like how people did with it. So for those who want to try it out, you can. It's just funny how that works out.
We had $85 million in sales last year, and this year we'll top $100 million. In the U.S., we're based in 37,000 square feet in the heart of the high technology center of Silicon Valley. Our employee base is growing too, and with 2/3 of those employees as part of our R&D team, we've earned a reputation in Japan that is unparalleled. Capcom invested...
Yeah, for a note, Capcom USA has had an office since the 80s or 70s even, and that's really interesting to think about because like you always see like the Capcom USA tag for it.
$5.5 million and spent 3
They've
years
lasted
in
longer than like
development on a
Enix or
CPS
Square
custom
offices.
integrated circuit. This chip features high-density graphics with vivid colors and unmatched memory capacity, 44 megabits.
Hey Cherry Bomb, welcome on in.
In one chip.
Yeah, it was really smart of them
Other
too.
motherboard systems have limited memory, but not Capcom's. By adding more chips, the memory capacity
I think
is
Namco had like
unlimited.
44 game boards too,
megabits.
like System 11,
Compare that with 2
compared to like
megabits in an
CPS1 for
NES
Capcom.
cartridge, and you can imagine the possibilities. Games that are out of this world, or in Forgotten Worlds, the first game to use this new CPS technology. Forgotten Worlds debuted in July of 1988 as a 2-player interactive game, taking players on
They
a
definitely
journey through
did.
many different worlds and pitting them against enemies.
Yeah, two buff dudes just doing a shmup across the screen.
Which had long been thought to be extinct.
I think
The graphics are
I think
sharp,
this is also
clear, and
put
colorful.
on Amiga.
Movement is realistic.
It looked more
Bodies
stiff.
seem to twist as if they're human. From our very first CPS game, it was easy
They
to
usually
see
did,
the
yeah.
enormous potential of our new chip.
Space Harrier being a huge example of that.
Next, Capcom reached into the past to update a previous big earner, Ghosts and Goblins.
I think the phrase I've heard people say is like they are the innovators and they're like the ones who do it first, then people build on the bones. Because generally, like, and Sega kind of just suffers for it.
The result? Ghouls and Ghosts. Not only were the programmers able to greatly improve the graphics, but the gameplay of this sequel is completely different from the original.
I have to thank Max
In
for
this
that
game, our valiant
like
hero,
concept.
Arthur, battles his way through graveyards, dungeons, rainstorms,
Burr,
earthquakes,
burr, 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 burr.
and
I want to
fire
beat the
to a
SNES
final
version someday, but
against
I
Lucifer
know it's going to take a
himself.
lot of practice.
Ghouls and Ghosts was the first
You can't say Lucifer though for Super Nintendo. That's a sin. And yeah, I've seen the NES version.
CPS game with a computer-aided difficulty adjustment. This feature means that the game will automatically calculate and adjust itself to the player's individual ability. No other manufacturer offers this capability. Armed with the knowledge of the CPS capabilities and limitations, the developers at Capcom next created a totally new and unique video, featuring a Japanese comic book hero and artwork resembling a Saturday morning cartoon. Last February, Capcom unveiled Strider. Fluid motions like
heck yeah,
flips and
Strider.
slides and incredible background graphics make players wonder whether it's actually a laser disc instead of a video game.
This is why when you get strange looks if you recommend NES Strider over arcade, because that is not a 1-to-1.
This action-packed adventure has everything from dinosaurs to Russian soldiers to robotic monsters to the Grand Wizard. And later
It's a manga character, huh? Okay.
this year, a number of games already in development will go on sale. The next one scheduled for release is a medieval Chinese fighting piece entitled Dynasty.
Yeah, I know NES Strider you
Players
can
on horseback fight
like
an uphill
glitch
battle
through
against
it,
warlords of
which is
ancient
kind of
China.
crazy.
The action is non-stop as you dodge arrows, leap through flames, and smash down the gates to one of the warlord's castles. In Willow...
Oh yeah, I think that other game back there, announced before Willow, I played that Capcom arcade collection on Steam.
Based on the movie of the
Pretty
same
tough.
name, our heroes must protect the baby Elora Danan from the evil Queen Bavmorda. The gameplay recreates all the drama and excitement of the action-filled motion picture as Willow Ufgood and Mad Mardigan attempt to bring the child to safety.
I know the NES game
Other
is like a
games
pretty
planned
cool
for
RPG.
1989 include UN Squadron, which will feature the latest air
Don't you mean Area 88 pulls up glasses?
aerial fighter power in combat with forces determined to conquer the world. And Street Fighter II, a multiplayer sequel to Capcom's highly successful hit of 1987.
Oh, yeah. Well, it didn't come out for 89. No, I mean, Street Fighter 2 didn't come to arcades until like 92 or 91, I forget, but it did eventually get to SNES and Genesis.
And on the drawing boards, there are many, many more. Although you may have heard or may hear similar titles...
Since I have a video that's parallel to this that explains more, I'll just jump to that next.
...produced for the home market, don't be concerned. With separate R&D staffs working independently, the games, if available, are entirely different. And the memory capacity of our custom chip means that the home version couldn't duplicate the coin-op play even if it wanted to. Capcom is committed to the coin-op industry. We want you to have not only the quality games which will guarantee your success, but we'll also
give us your quarters, your half dollars,
best for you.
your Sacagaweas.
Buy a dedicated upright, a kit, or a system. And with our $500 trade-in program, you can keep new games coming, take advantage of all of the latest titles, but still minimize your investment. Up to 18 months from the time you buy the boards, we'll buy them back, issuing you a $500 credit.
Huh.
No one else offers such a program because no one else but Capcom has this level of long-term commitment to the coin-op industry. Yes, Capcom is on the move to #1.
I think I've heard this guy's voice before, but you don't normally see his face. If people know what I'm talking about, I've heard this guy's general voice talking in other videos. It's very like, it's very like, it could be used for like anything and it wouldn't surprise me.
To get there, we need your support. In return, you'll get great games with in-depth graphics and a custom chip featuring unmatched memory.
Generic business, yeah.
Options on how to buy your games. And if you want, you'll get a $500 credit through our trade-in program. We're making this commitment because we know that together we can both be successful.
$500 credit. I mean, that's a lot back then. Oh, there we go. So here they were mentioning stuff that I was going to talk about later, but since this came out from Mac McMuscles recently, I have always had an interest in Final Fight, and since it's Capcom related, we might as well just jump to it.
Around.
Oh, come on, there we go.
The beat 'em up, the undisputed.
This is just basically a retrospective.
Timeless video game genre ever created. No puzzle game.
Ayo Fighto, hey Flea, how you doing?
Of a level 5 brawler boss. No platformer asked for the same precision that a death-defying jump over a rolling beat-em-up barrel demands. And while some may boast about the hollow spectacle of any modern action game,
Boy.
the fact is, none of them can compare to the thrilling final set pieces of 90s belt scrollers. See? I mean, you can't top that! But while Technos' Double Dragon was responsible for truly starting the craze, it was Capcom's 1989 classic Final Fight that established many of the genre's most long-standing tenets that are still being implemented today. The creation and evolution of the franchise also happens to be a fascinating one, as its origins accidentally spawned a fighting game revolution.
It does look good still, yeah.
Fused together the worlds of two different series and generated many sequels, spin-offs, and the occasional mistake. So let's enter the hard streets of Metro City as I discuss the history of Final Fight.
Oh yeah. Let's tone it down a little bit.
In 1986, Capcom took notice of the success Nintendo was having in the home video game market with the original Famicom. So they started work on their own custom arcade board to similarly offer their own unique arcade experiences via big advancements in both graphics and sound. Not only would this help establish Capcom with their own brand, it would increase productivity, as all their arcade teams could then use the same board, dubbed the CPS-1, to share various tricks and techniques with one another. The first game to use said technology was Forgotten Worlds.
As mentioned in the other video, so this just literally just, covers some of it while expanding on other things.
A macho, pulse-pounding shoot-'em-up that really showcased what the board could do. Following that, many of the same team members like Akira Nishitani and Akira Yasuda were debating on what was next, which would ultimately be informed by the booming popularity of Billy and Jimmy Lee, the Double Dragons.
Emmy.
Unfortunately, the very early origins of Final Fight are still a bit muddied, as several different Capcom employees all recall things a bit differently. Nishitani, the game's director, has said that Capcom USA had put out a request for a direct sequel.
Hey, Appleman, welcome on in. And yeah, we're talking stuff from the 1980s, 40 years ago, so people are gonna forget stuff.
Street Fighter, something that was also backed up by Noritaka Funamizu. And while that was the plan for a hot second, the team had some misgivings. They looked at the booming popularity of the beat-em-up in Japanese arcades and basically ignored the request, feeling that making a Double Dragon competitor was the smarter move. Yoshiki Okamoto, the head of the arcade division...
Imagine if Street Fighter 2 came out 3 years sooner.
He said,
be like,
Forgotten Worlds,
I don't know if it would even look the same.
Arcades to study the latest trends, and to then base their next project on those findings. But since Double Dragon was also all the rage in the US, as well as several martial arts movies...
Oh yeah, you gotta mention Karate Kid. Bloodsport especially. They're ratings-wise, two different types of, fighting movies. One is just, the blood and guts. One is just, punches and kicks that, can be blocked.
Making big bucks in US cinemas, the team were logically motivated to make something that...
Put him in a body bag!
Hence, Final Fight.
Fighting doesn't solve anything. Oh, well, neither does palm trees, Ma.
Okamoto then went on to explain that once
palm trees solve everything.
To gear, Capcom
sweep the leg.
It should be renamed to Street Fighter, as it would add a bit of brand recognition, regardless of it having very little connection to the one-on-one fighter. The team did so by calling it Street Fighter 89, but when displaying it...
Street Fighter 89 to Final Fight. Huh. Yeah, that's quite a mouthful.
In production cabinet at a trade show, the feedback from arcade operators and onlookers was one of confusion, as they weren't sure if it was supposed to be a sequel or spin-off or whatever, so the Street Fighter branding was dropped.
Yeah, it doesn't roll off the tongue. Hey, Sage.
Slightly different variations of the game's inception. Because in contrast to the previous two tales, Akira Akiman Yasuda, via the Street Fighter Cross Tekken art book, said that Final Fight's origins were something else altogether. The team were originally going full steam ahead with a traditional Street Fighter sequel right after Forgotten Worlds, and even started design work on a few characters and concepts. But when they sat down to look at the
He did look like he was on something, yeah.
logistics of making 8 huge sprites with hundreds of frames of animation each, along with backgrounds, effects, bosses, etc., it would actually require more memory than Capcom was willing to spring for. See, Japan was going through a computer chip shortage at that time, so if the team
Yeah, sounds familiar. If you heard about this before, this was the cause of Zelda 2 and Mario 2 like not getting as many things out. So, and it was an actual problem. It's not like, where people like companies were scamming. It's like it was an actual crisis at the time. They couldn't ship as many games out because of those chips not being available.
wanted to release a big bombastic Street Fighter sequel.
Less RAM. Like the Johnny Bravo image is kind of funny. Like, let's see.
And Capcom was willing
Yeah,
to bring
big up top, small on the bottom.
Going through a computer chip shortage at that time, so if the team wanted to release a big bomb,
yeah, like big top, small legs,
it was going to have to be greatly compromised. So they decided to then shift genres and make a beat 'em up instead, as it would save on memory thanks to a more conservative amount of playable characters. Akiman also confirmed that early on, yes, the game was called Street Fighter 89, but instead of feedback coming from a trade show, it was Capcom executives who felt that the brawling gameplay was too different to carry the same moniker. So it was at their behest that the name was changed. Now, listen, when you look back at the past and comb through old articles or ask game developers questions 40-something years later, you're gonna run into these discrepancies. All these versions of the origin of Final Fight might be accurate, inaccurate, or a hearty mix of them all. What we know for certain, though, is that from the very start, Street Fighter and Final Fight were intrinsically linked, something Capcom would go very hard on in the subsequent decades. As for the core development of the game itself, Yoshiki
like, I don't remember what I ate 10 years ago at this exact day.
Okamoto wanted as many titles coming out of the arcade division to be as flashy and as cinematic as possible, which included introductory cutscenes, backstories, and more fleshed out personalities for the various heroes and villains, something that would shape many Capcom franchises from then on out. With that mandate, Nishitani asked his...
I mean, Cody became one through Street Fighter Alpha. I think Guy's been in there. Lucia's been in them.
Team to really lean on American style and
the sexy on the bathroom walls.
the story, setting, and the cast of characters, taking influence from all over popular culture, which is something they definitely took to heart. The 1984 Walter Hill film Streets of Fire is often cited as Final Fight's main source of inspiration, so much so that some have considered it a straight-up carbon copy, something that Nishitani, to this day, still pleads ignorance of. And while the film must have played a part in the broader strokes, the rest of the creative corners were filled with references to American hair metal bands, homages to professional wrestling.
Oh yeah, I mean, roll me back there a little bit. Yeah, there's no way this wasn't like a reference to a wrestler.
Wrestling, and some things that were uniquely all its own. To give a quick rundown, Final Fight centered around Metro City, a fictional crime-ridden burg that's under the violent thumb of the Mad Gear Gang, who would go to any lengths to get their way. Their way then became a bit harder to get when the newly elected mayor and former pro wrestler Mike Real Graps Hagar
he was the wrestling dude that was like the big guy that became like an ally later on to Inigo Montoya and others.
Moved into office, and whose first order of business was to
Andre the Giant,
anyone else's shit. Of course, the Mad Gear and their leader, the affluent and crossbow-wielding Belger, took exception to this.
I like the art for this. He's just sitting in his chair using a crossbow.
And so to put pressure
Real
on
smug.
Mike to, look the other way, they kidnapped his daughter, the lovely Jessica Hagar.
And yes, this is from the crossover with Street Fighter. Well, it had an episode with it had an episode where they had a Final Fight in it, which the dub is really goofy for that.
With the police unwilling or unable to mount any sort of rescue, Mike then hits the streets with Jessica's
Cody on the roids, yeah.
training partner Guy in a daring attempt to bring her home and stomp out the Mad Gear forever. Unlike Billy and Jimmy, who are indistinguishable in playstyle, Final Fight offered 3
Yeah, like you could tell there's some difference between Cody and Guy. Hagar, there's no question because just pecs on pecs.
distinct characters who all had
Yep,
strengths
Bimmy and Jimmy.
weaknesses, which formed the triangle of archetypes that many later brawlers copied. Hagar was slow but powerful and had extra throw-off.
Guy's face looked like Charlie Sheen.
Guy was faster but with less
Winning.
power behind his punches, which was made up by being able to jump off walls. While Cody was a balanced...
That was a weird time when he just went off the rails.
With knives.
Ended up him saying he regretted doing that.
Washy.
Now stand back, I gotta practice my stabbing.
While the gameplay was kept relatively in line with other brawlers, Final Fight added a smattering of new techniques, none more impactful than the Mega Crush. This was a powerful move that would interrupt almost all enemy offense and
He was Charlie Sheen, yeah.
instant you press jump and attack together, with the only real caveat being a small health reduction. Not only did this balance out the move, it was a sneaky way to
Look at that doggo. I want to pet him.
slowly reduce the player's health to get them to pump in more
Bork, bork,
quarters.
bork.
The Mega Crush was also key to fending off the likes of 2P, Bill Bull, Poison, and the Andore Dynasty, who all stood in your way throughout 6 levels strewn across the Metro City map. In the end, you came face to face with the big bad Belger, who honestly wasn't all that bad. He first...
Oh, you can punch his arrows. Yeah, good old Poison. A lot of, trans rights, It's like, come on. Let's not put shade on Poison. She's great.
appears in a wheelchair avec Jessica, and then starts pelting you with crossbow bolts before hopping around like a madman until a...
Yeah, her name is Poison, just Poison. And then her sister is called Roxy.
very movie-esque coup de grace is struck, ending his...
It's okay. You must have been thinking of, Poison Ivy, which...
He ain't gonna be in Rush Hour 3.
When you compared Final Fight to the likes of any other beat-em-up that was in the arcades circa 1980...
Oh, yeah. Side by side, like, this looks a lot slower. I'd want to play Final Fight.
Saw the difference that the CPS-1 board made. The punchy sound effects, memorable music, and massive character sprites that would gradually fill the screen during the action turned a lot of heads. Because of this, Final Fight became an instant success, shipping over 30,000 machines across the globe, was the highest grossing Japanese arcade game of 1990, and in general became Capcom's biggest hit ever up until that point. With being such a blockbuster hit, ports were ordered pretty much immediately, and it's here...
Boy Vines Against Women, yeah. Because reasons. Final Fight CD, yeah. I feel like it's pretty expensive, too.
Where Final Fight's franchise trajectory shifts a little bit into an unexpected direction. In the late 80s, Capcom had a strong relationship with Sega, releasing solid home ports of other arcade titles like Strider.
Oh, yeah. I forget, is Strider on Sega CD or is just like regular Genesis? Because this looks pretty good. Hey, Miles, welcome on in.
Genesis. Nintendo, however, looking to bolster the popularity of its then upcoming Super NES/Famicom, sought to wrap up exclusive 16-bit rights for Final Fight. a move that paid off for everyone involved, except for maybe the gamers that bought it. Capcom's home division were given a very strict deadline to port the massive arcade game onto a tiny SNES cartridge, and while on a visual and auditory level they mostly succeeded, the port lost a few features from its arcade cousin during the transition. And when I say a few features, I mean a whole Andori ass full of them. While slight downgrades were of course expected, along with the same
Yeah. But she was stripped down to like her underwear in the Japanese version. Like, yeah, that's not good.
same type of censoring many other games went through at the time, what was less expected was the complete removal of
Yeah, it is
Guy
brutal.
as a playable character. The
Yeah, no guy in this one. For now.
scene of the industrial level and its end boss Rolento, the enemy sprite count being drastically reduced, and worst of all, no two-player co-op.
Yeah, that's the
Something
biggest
I,
bummer.
and many others don't think it should have ever shipped without. The inability for two buddies teaming up to take on the Mad Gear also had another negative effect, which was that it was almost unreasonable to beat, because unlike the arcade, you had a very limited set of continues. Hell, years later there's even been some seasoned video game vets who just couldn't rise up to the challenge.
Oh, this is
Now,
Game Center
months
CX.
Later, Capcom arcade beat-em-ups got ported to the SNES with co-op and most content intact.
Oh, Captain Commando, yeah, a lot more fair.
Too short a deadline and too little familiarity with the new hardware. And while it frustrated a good portion of fans due to its lack of content and insane difficulty, it didn't seem to bother Nintendo or Capcom too much, because just like the arcade original, Final Fight smashed sales records on the Super NES/Famicom, selling over 1.5 million copies on the machine, which was an incredible number for such a compromised port and so early in the console's life.
Yeah, reminder, this was early SNES that it was released on. So if it took a few more years to bring out, they probably could have like added more stuff and not needed a just a guide version.
Now, if you didn't have the hottest 16-bit consoles on the market and instead were into weird crap like clunky home computers, you still had a few options if you wanted to see what all the Final Fight hype was about. There were a few decent efforts like the Amiga or Atari ST versions, but there were some less than decent ones like the ZX Spectrum, Armstrad CPC, or the mangled Lego-looking mess that was the Commodore 64 port.
Yeah, oof, yeah. Those look pretty stiff. I don't know why they decided to do it like that, but you know, if you wanted to make it more available, there you go.
Port. Next up, while it was unavailable in
I don't really know, man. This is the crazy part is like that, you know, let's just put it on these systems. It'll work fine. It was indeed not fine.
obscure to much of the world, the Japanese-only Sharp X68000 version, for my money, was the most accurate to the arcade, with the only differences being less enemies on screen and its slightly remixed soundtrack. Shame this one wasn't released outside of Japan during the 90s, cause hell, I mean, look at it. Capcom were still pretty chummy with Nintendo during this porting period, but Sega, however, sneakily slid into Capcom's DMs to make a deal for a Final Fight port of their own. Of course, they had to
Sega, you up?
navigate around the pre-existing deal with Nintendo, which they did.
I love how Matt does stuff like this.
Outside the launch period of the SNES port, designing it for a CD-based console and having Sega and not Capcom themselves publish the port. The result was 1993's Final Fight CD, which included a lot of the cut content, Guy, the industrial section, and the two-player co-op, and added a few bells and whistles of its own. While the visuals and sound effects were a step down from what was seen and heard on the SNES, the freshly recorded CD quality OST impressed with its dancier feel and more polished production values.
God, that sounds so awesome. It's like, yeah, CD quality music, let's go.
A new and very hilarious animated intro and outro was also added, because really, what's the point of a Sega CD game without it? And it certainly made some choices in regards to its voice acting.
Guy, Jessica was kidnapped.
Jessica?
My sweetheart since childhood.
Finally, a unique time attack mode was squeezed in as a bonus.
Yeah, they weren't really
Ways of
matching
battle
the lip flaps.
Well, time runs out. While nothing mind-blowing, it's still kind of wild to see all new backgrounds were created just for this mode, showing that the team Sega had contracted definitely went the extra mile. Although it's kind of lame that
Yeah. Yeah, they don't have the booty shorts here. Sadly enough.
Poison and Roxy still had their sprites altered, but I mean, at least they were in the damn thing. Rounding out the ports, we have the curious curio that is Final Fight Guy. This was a bizarre re-release of the SNES version, which hit Japanese store shelves only a few months later, and just happens to have the most lateral changes to a follow-up ever conceived. Hagar is retained, but Cody is now MIA, and replaced with his Bushinryu buddy, hence the kind of awkward game title.
Yeah, that kind of... Yeah, no, it's weird, because, like, wouldn't you think that since it's Final Fight Guy, they would add him and keep Cody? No, they don't. And that was like... That's kind of like their reiteration of, like, Street Fighter 3 times on the SNES. I know, I see it. Maybe a younger Charlie Sheen. Now, Space, in 93, 94, they probably would have had the capabilities of putting more in. No, it wasn't. It like both SNES games have 2 players for this one.
There were a few added bits of text explaining Cody's absence.
Cody is still in Japan, huh? Okay. Wouldn't you want to go to rescue your girlfriend?
Which, I don't know, makes this a dream match or fight? More difficulty settings were implemented, however, which did help things somewhat, along with a few new power-ups, but that was pretty much it. The industrial stage, Poison and Roxy, and the 2-player co-op were all still missing. Like, what the hell was the point even? While this was sold in Japan, it first came to the US as a Blockbuster rental exclusive.
Yep. This is probably why it's a lot more rare out there. So, yeah, it's like they learned nothing from the first iteration. I mean, they treated like Street Fighter like it's golden child. I mean, it is, but it's like they had 2 more iterations of Street Fighter and they made it better each time. I believe it did. I don't think there was no mention of it not being in there.
Or eventually getting a smaller limited run, making it one of the rarer SN.
Yeah. Like, yeah, Final Fight Guy, $549. Aha. There's no co-op. Yeah, Final Fight Guy has no co-op. You just mentioned that, right? Yeah. I was like, ugh. And I guess the Final Fight Guy right up there is basically like, start saving up. Like, if I wanted to save money, I'd be saving up money for something. I'd save it for a PS3 in 2006. Holy cow. Like, that's a better deal than this. You get the pleasure of playing as Guy instead of Cody in a game. I guess this is like a repro cart above it.
Yes, titles, that's absolutely not worth that price. My only thought here was that since the original Super Nintendo port was so popular, Capcom decided to sweatily crap this one out to capitalize on said success, and implemented the barest bone changes they could before shoving it out the door. This was not dissimilar to how they pumped out Street Fighter II revisions in such short succession to keep the gravy train a-rollin'. Like, they
Yeah, you see how many versions they had of Street Fighter 2 on console? That's like 5 versions. Not all of them on SNES, like one on Genesis. Was it one on Sega CD? I don't remember.
could have figured out how to get all 3 characters or the co-op in there, but that would have taken just a little bit too much time. Let's move it, people! These filthy gamers want their Metro City street meat now! By the time all these ports were coming out, though, Capcom, and specifically the team that created Final Fight, had struck gold or platinum with Street Fighter 2, selling over 75,000 arcade units worldwide and well over 6 million copies on the SNES, which meant they would be very busy with that franchise for the foreseeable future. That put Final Fight in a bit of a weird place. The original development team wasn't available, but the franchise was still a big seller, which meant Capcom had to find a way to keep things fresh. And to do that, Final Fight was going to have to go global.
So the next game is something I know less about.
With Nishitani and his team transitioning exclusively to fighting games,
I like that background he has, just Dragon Ball Z characters, or one of them was. No, it's just all Dragon Ball Z in the background.
The staff that developed the 16-bit port of Final Fight were immediately saddled with making a sequel that would
Resident Evil Survive looking different.
I'll drive the SNES once again. Oh,
Hey Ralph, how you doing?
I'm not sure, actually.
I think it's funny that I'm talking about Capcom stuff that's not Resident Evil 9 when that's like looming in the distance. So
I couldn't find any snippet or interview where an old Capcom employee shed light on that decision, but I have to assume that the first port's platinum selling status played a lot into it. With more
oh yeah, it's not just Resident Evil 9 that's coming out tomorrow. It's Pokemon Fire Red Leaf Green digitally on Switch. It's like that's kind of a cool move too, because like I don't know what's going to happen to the prices of physical copies, but I'm sure more people are going to go for something that is, more viable.
Time now available for development, since they no longer had to rush for launch, the team were able to come to grips with the technical aspects of the Super NES, and thankfully were able to deliver a sequel that improved upon the first port's massive shortcomings. 3 fighters were now available, although some fans were let down that Cody and Guy weren't a part of.
Oh yeah, I believe Maki has been put in Street Fighter. I don't know about Carlos. I think Hagar is in Street Fighter, been in a Street Fighter, so.
This new trio. Instead, Maki Genryusai, Guy's childhood.
Yeah, Maki is really cute.
Enlisted Hagar's help to rescue her sister and father.
Was it World Tour in Street Fighter 6? Okay.
The tattered remnants of the Mad Gear gang have kidnapped.
I mean, at least they're giving nods to Street Fighter or Final Fight 2, that even more nods rather. I appreciate that.
Friend of Hagar, just happened to be crashing at his house when Maki's call came in, and having nothing better to do, pledges his sword to the cause. Cody's absence is explained away by him and Jessica being on a vacation somewhere. Oh, maybe at the White Lotus? Oh, I'd love to watch that. While Guy is off on some vague training mission and simply couldn't be reached. Like what? I mean, this is his master and girlfriend that were absconded with. Like, page the dude or something. Anyway, the global setting I mentioned earlier is in regards to Final Fight no longer being constrained by the trash-ridden and pothole-plagued streets of Metro City, as the Mad Gear gang had somehow opened cells all over the world, which included, but was not limited to, Hong Kong, England, Italy, and Japan, with a few of them hiding cheeky little references and
yeah. Chun-Li's just eating ramen.
cameos. In total, there are about 6 main stages and 2 bonus ones, which meant that this made up for the missing 4th stage from the first game's port. And the team even went the extra mile by including Rolento as the boss of Italy, although strangely his name was shortened to Rolent for some reason. While Poison and Roxy don't appear in any version of Final Fight 2, a new female duo did, Mary and Eliza, which, while really neat, was also pretty pointless, as again, Capcom USA requested them to be changed to Leon and Robert, another big downgrade. Of course, to take on this world...
Like, it's pretty apparent that they're, like, feminine in build structure. I don't think they even took time to, like, change the body type.
Wide version of Mad Gear, 2 players would be ideal, as cooperation does indeed make it happen.
Yeah, and this is co-op.
Capcom made sure of it this time around. Unfortunately, gameplay-wise, Final Fight 2 doesn't really make any advances over its predecessor, other than Hagar's pile driver being upgraded to a spinning version as a nod to Zangief. The story is also lacking as well, as there's no real reason given as to why Mad Gear kidnapped 2 tertiary characters that had nothing to do with the first game, as well as the final boss, Retu, having no clear motivations either. However, the vibe of Final Fight 1 was retained here, as the sequel still had...
I'm guessing that, like, there must be, like, some lore in, like, the Capcom, like, scriptures. I think that, I mean, this is back in the 90s when, like, you know, stuff like this was, like, carefully hawk-eyed over. And, you know, like, if parents saw their kids, like, you know, knowing that they were beating up some women, yeah, it's like, yeah, they're the bad guys. It was fine in Streets of Rage. Yeah, I guess it was more of a Capcom things. Yeah, you didn't really see that change, but that was Sega too. And Sega was like, you know, trying to be more edgy and like, you know, rebellious. But I don't know. The ladies with the whips were definitely, I mean, there's ladies with the whips, and I think Double Dragon had like ladies that were fighters too that fight against Bimmy and Jimmy. So
had a gritty look and feel, but felt a little bit more 90s thanks to the character designs. The selection of exotic locales also made the game feel a bit fresh when it came to the aesthetics, and of course each one was accompanied by another stellar BGM that sounds so distinctly Capcom.
Of course, there's no game complete, Final Fight game complete without Andore.
Final Fight 2 was only ever released on the SNES, and even to this day, it's never been made available anywhere outside of Nintendo virtual libraries, which...
Oh, we got a Wii U release, I see.
It's a little bit odd, considering Capcom's kink for constantly re-releasing...
Yeah, why won't you release on any of these? Maybe they're saving it up for Capcom Fighting Collection 3 or something. That would be interesting.
Releasing titles from the retro catalog. Fortunately for us, back in 1993 at least, it was a big year for Final Fight in general, because not only did it get a sequel, but another sequel, or a remake maybe? Well,
probably.
Whatever it was, fans the world over were treated to something that was quite mighty. By 1993, the Super Nintendo had already been out for 3 years, but Capcom were still putting out titles...
Yeah, reminder, 1993, the NES was still kicking. They were still getting games, and there were some good games in 93 too. Like Kirby? Kirby was like probably the biggest ones for that year too. I think, was that Mega Man 5 or 6? I don't remember which one was 1993. 1994 was Mega Man 6, I think. Chibi Hagar isn't really carried. Oh, yeah, we're about to hit an ad break, so I will be right back. Give me 3 minutes. You know, this brought a good point to the SNES still getting games. Hold on a second. I had another video that kind of tangentially is relevant. Hold on a second. Which one was it? This one. Okay. So apparently they re-released the Disney Afternoon Collection on Switch, and apparently there's other things included with it. John Riggs talks about it here. I guess I'll refresh.
It has been a hot minute since we all said we need the Disney Afternoon Collection on the Nintendo Switch, and finally, we have the Disney Afternoon Collection on the Nintendo Switch.
So I got the Disney Afternoon Collection on PS4 back in the day, and that's how I was able to beat DuckTales and Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers.
And I'm super excited about it. So John Riggs here, how are you feeling? This is that Disney Afternoon Collection, including a couple of extra games that they added, and we'll cover all of those in this video. But what I love that Digital Eclipse does is they also include things like the soundtrack. So if you just want to hear the soundtrack to some of your favorite games, you're just like, I just want to go straight to the Moon Stage. Everyone loves the Moon Stage. Moon Stage is fine. It's not my favorite from the game. However, do not ignore the ragtime sounds as a Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers here. Come on. You can't top that soundtrack. So they give you that for an option. Just if you want to check that out, you can definitely check that out. And even gallery pieces too, or options that I apparently clicked on just for no reason. Gallery, there we go. So it's nice because it shows like the art from the game and like the inspirations for the thing. Like,
oh yeah, the concept sketches and stuff.
Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers. Good to know. There's a museum that you can see the.
Oh yeah, the box art. Yeah. Like you can see like September 1989.
You know, you can also hide the captions if you want to see what these things look like. It's funny. I have a cleaner box than that. They could have asked me I would have scanned mine, I suppose, but also like the Famicom box or.
I think it just gives like character to have them like be a little wrinkled.
You know, they've included the Game Boy, although the Game Boy games are not even on this collection. I wish they were, but it gives you a few options there. Odds and ends, you know, this is kind of nice to see. It's like, you know, previously unpublished DuckTales art. That could have been the Famicom box art, you know, or, you know, here's from the commercial, or here's some of the advertising that you would see in magazines. I remember.
Oh yeah, this is for Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers. I think I remember seeing this commercial or like this like thing in one of the Nintendo Powers.
For that, seeing that one in magazines for sure. And then original artwork too. This is like the box art to the game, but without all the text, which is kind of cool to see, like everything, you know, without like what's behind the words, I guess, you know. Maybe you'll see something that you didn't notice before.
But yeah, Rescue Rangers and DuckTales were like some of my first few rentals as a little kid, like before I was 10. You know, like I never got to beat those then, but when I got to beat them, like eventually, it's like that was a cool feeling.
So a lot of options here, but there are a bunch of games to choose from. So in this collection, starting back in 1989, we have DuckTales, Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers. It is not Chip 'n Dale's Rescue Rangers. There is no S. We have Tailspin. We have Darkwing Duck. We have DuckTales.
Yeah, we have DuckTales 2 now. I don't think there was DuckTales 2 on the original.
2, which is fantastic. Goof Troop, a personal favorite of mine.
Yeah, Goof Troop, one of the first few games Shinji Mikami worked on. Important note.
We have Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers 2.
I think Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers 2 is like one of the more expensive NES carts because it came out late in the NES's lifespan.
As well as Bonkers. So
yeah, Bonkers is not something I expected to see on this for like a redone version of Disney Afternoon Collection. Like, this is a solid list of games.
So plenty of games to choose from. Again, would have been nice if they would have included the Game Boy ones, but beggars can't be choosers. I'm happy to have at least these ones. A couple of options on here too. There's a time attack. There's a boss rush. Even how to play it. They'll just give you the instructions on how to play it. Sweetness. So anyway, but let's look at it just for a moment, just so I can show you some of the, some of the options anyway. You do have save game, load game, of course. You also have a couple of filters. There's a TV filter.
Oh, you have like save. You have like save progression. You really don't need it for DuckTales, but you might need it for the other games. DuckTales is pretty short,
which is okay. The monitor filter. I mean, if you know, it's nice to see those two. Don't really need them as far as I need. You can go original mode or even like widescreen mode if you want to stretch out for the full screen. Don't really need that too. Border, whether you want it or not.
Oh yeah, that's a
And
cool
the
border
button
thing.
configuration. And I do want to point out that I'm playing on Joy-Con, so I'm not the most proficient in the controller here. It shows you, as you can see there, depending on how you play the game, like I'm used to Super Nintendo controls, where if you have those 4 buttons, I want Y to be attack and then B to be jump. And right now they have the default as A is jump, B is attack. So if you can get through that, totally cool. If not, you can change the controls, and now it tells you, okay, which one is up. So I'll say that's up, and left, down, right. That's select.
I like the
start.
movement bindings though
Let's
too.
go that, and then let's go that. And then those two are fine. And then sometimes it's not exactly how you want it. So if I back up here, and I'll show you what I mean. So I can still move this around and everything. Back up again. Normal's fine. But then, like, I can't, like, I just chose the analog, but now it's like not letting me choose where to go or move or anything like that too. So fortunately, you can go right back into it. I guess we'll do that one. Dude, these Joy-Cons, I'm telling you. I will blame it on the Joy-Cons. When in doubt.
They're drifting on you.
Or not. Let's try this again. Oh, I'm going the wrong way. Going the wrong way. Hold on, I just messed that up. And you can't go back. You just have to go through the motions. Whatever. Sure. Doesn't matter. All right. Reset to defaults. There we go. Hit back. And return to game. And now I'm able to kind of choose around a little bit. So, and this is the TV filter. Another thing I noticed, which again, I'm playing this on an earlier.
Oh, I can notice like the ripples.
It comes out, in a week or so. There might be a day 1 patch because right now this is jump, this is age for jump, and then this is also B, and B is also jumping, but also my attack. So again, there might be some changes on the final version. But if you can kind of get over it, my thing is like, well, I'm trying to attack the thing, but I end up just jumping over it, that's or whatever. But again,
I might wait on this until like it gets patched.
Or maybe it's because I'm playing this on a Switch too, when I should be playing it on a Switch. I have no idea. I am playing let me look at it for a second. Yeah, it looks like this might just be the PlayStation, not PlayStation, like the Switch 1 version, where maybe there's some differences with the Switch 2, some compatibility issues. I don't know. But that's just from my experience from being here right now. So quit that, and if you want to go to, like, let's say the boss rush, sure, why not? So you're just playing. Hey, wait a minute. There's some people already playing. If you're just going to do the boss rush, friends of mine that are playing this. Oh, I know that guy. Or everyone. That's fine too.
Oh yeah, you go through all the bosses of this.
Again, I'll probably fare better with my
It's kind of hard to keep the sound up on this because it can get copyright tagged.
Okay, so 1 down.
Not a problem on Twitch as much as is on YouTube.
The jump and then holding down to pogo. That could be it. Yes? Oh, I had enough time to get him that other time. Oh, this guy's always giving me not always, but...
I've been meaning to play DuckTales Remastered someday.
Okay.
I don't know if they updated this on PS4, PS5, though. If they did, that's really good on them.
Well. Okay.
Giant moon rat.
Well.
Rats, we are the rats.
Shoot your little zappy zaps.
Magica Dispel.
Let's see what we're doing here. You dropping down anytime soon? Here we go. Okay. All right, final boss.
And
Can
Dracula.
actually be a little hard sometimes with me because you have to bounce on the bat and then bounce on his head. Okay, so far so good. I forgot how many hits exactly, 6 or something. No, not quite. Should have been a little bit closer. And close enough that because if you're too far away, that's too much. Oh, I could have got that. Then he'll disappear before you even get there. Especially with how high you're pogoing. There we go. So 211, not bad. No, second place so far. I mean, once the game actually comes out, you'll see everyone else playing this too. So, neat. I'll take that for now.
Oh, did he get like a?
But then we can also go through the other
a
games,
free code or something?
They're gonna have
That's
the same
nice.
kind of things here too. So, there you go. That's a fun little.
Oh yeah, Chippendale is like a very popular speedrun game.
See.
Also,
Just out of curiosity, if this one also is B is also jump, it is. So this will be a hard one for me because
the boss's name is Brusher. That's
I'm
funny.
not gonna go all the way through this. Oh, and even if you pause it, the time's still going down.
Oh yeah, so there's some bosses you might never run into for this game because you could do like different route choices, and you might never ever see them.
No worries. All right, so we have that one, Tailspin again, Darkwing Duck, and they're all gonna have those too, including all the way down. Let's go to Goof Troop. This was one of the new games added. They don't have the time attack on this one, but man alive, do I love this game. Classic. Love it.
A lot of like resource management is for this game.
And such a fun experience. You gotta save Pete and the friend there. You can also play this game 2-player. Gotta love that.
It's so cool to see this like Goof Troops on modern consoles.
Zelda style, pick up the potted plants. Things like that. And it's like a puzzle, action game, like an action puzzle game. And then here's what Rewind looks like. Okay.
You could do Rewind. Interesting.
If you're curious. Quit. And then of all of the games on this collection, Bonkers is the one I'm least familiar with. I've played it a little bit, but I wasn't as engrossed, I suppose, when I did finally get around to playing this.
Yeah, they didn't do as much for games on the Disney Afternoon later on in the 90s.
Is it, and physical copies coming soon as well. I'm cool with the digital for now, but wouldn't be a bad idea to have the physical in the future, and hopefully more of these. Digital Clips always does these compilations as well, so hopefully we're going to see more and more of these awesome compilations of some of these great games that we had with art and extra stuff to them and all the.
Yeah, it's like I just wanted to share that since it basically goes back to like the NES getting games up to like 93, 94. So anyway, back to what we're talking about.
For its aging predecessor, I guess because the console had treated them so well during the 8-bit 80s. One of the last 3 games they produced for it, along with Chippendale 2 and Mega Man 6, was the oddest one of the bunch, and that was Mighty Final Fight. This was more of a charming what-if remake/sequel to the original arcade game, much in the same style as Kid Dracula or One Paku Graffiti, although, in my humble opinion, this is the best version of that type of cutesy reimagining. Mighty Final Fight poses the question, what if Belger didn't actually die, but instead was rebuilt as a cyborg? Cause why the hell not? And instead of being a purely evil gangster this time around, he just wants the adoration of Metro City's citizens, and thus decides to kidnap Jessica again, because her beaming radiance will somehow gain him likes.
All the best beat 'em up villains become cyborgs, yeah. Hey, Ari, how you doing? Hope you had a good day at work.
And followers. It's obviously all very tongue-in-cheek and contains several humorous cutscenes.
Go follow this bee.
Nah, man, don't take it seriously. This is all jokes, including pre-boss fight
Can't complain. Yeah, I was still feeling like fatigue from like the last several days, not including work, but post wedding attendance. So I finally got out of my funk today, sort of. I think one more night of sleep will help me. Yeah, I have a lot going on. And now I feel foolish for not like giving my 30 days notice to my apartment owners sooner, because it was very painless like process. It's like it only took like 5 minutes to just do what they needed me to do. So it's like,
depending on your answer,
that probably would have saved me a lot of the agony.
And therefore life bar. Mwah! All three characters are present as well, but sadly, there's no two-player co-op, which was probably a big ask for the NES in a technical sense, thanks to the beefy sprites and animation.
I mean, I don't know. I think it could work on this. But I guess for like the RPG mechanics, it probably took too much memory.
For 8-bit standards, anyway. Thankfully, the co-op isn't missed.
And yes, that's true, Ari.
Final Fight was tuned to favor single-player play, and has a bit more of an action game feel since you progressively unlock more moves through a simple XP system. This makes playing as Hagar, Cody, and Guy a bit of a different experience, as they all gain their own unique moves, and you can make slightly different story choices along the way to boot. The game also sports another phenomenal soundtrack, right up there with some of the best tunes of the later entries in the Mega Man series, and gosh darn it, the whole thing is just fun to play. In fact, the only real knock against Mighty Final Fight is that it keeps you wanting more, as you get the feeling that Capcom were really onto something here, and if it had a few more features, content, and maybe that co-op, it could have been an unmitigated NES classic. Thankfully, such a thing exists in the realm of fan games, and that is Mighty Final Fight Forever, which includes said co-op mode, more techniques, levels, and boss fights, along with a ton of unlockable Mighty...
That would be cool to play with somebody someday. Oh, it has like Maki in there too? That's sick. Maki and Carlos even.
Heroes that are brand new to the game, so definitely check that one out if you have any reverence for the original NES release. Having a single year packed with 2 Final Fight entries is something that would never occur again, because ironically, the fighting game, spearheaded by many of the same people that created Final Fight, progressively started to push the brawler out of the arcades more and more. So, it would take another 3 years before the franchise would return again, and if it was going to make an impact, it was going to need to get a whole lot tougher.
Yeah. This is a game I really want to play. I played the arcade version of Final Fight, and this one intrigues me the most. Because I seen somebody do speedruns of this a long time ago, and, it is a pleasure to watch them do all the routes, all the characters. I think the funniest ones is Dean's. Shout out to this guy.
At the very tail end of 1995 in Japan and early 1996 elsewhere, Final Fight 3, or Final Fight Tough, did what the first sequel should have.
I would have loved if it was called Final Fight Tough over here, but nah, we have to go with sequential numbering just to intrigue people.
Which was to shake up the formula a little bit, and even though it's not a perfect beat 'em up, it's one of my personal favorites. Taking place in Metro City years after the first game, 3 sees Hagar teaming up once again with 2 newcomers, Metro City cop Lucia Morgan and a crusty, bitter old Dean. Oh, and how could I forget? Capcom, perhaps realizing the mistake they made in FF2, saw fit to finally bring back Guy, complete with his Street Fighter Alpha sneakers and fighting stance. The story is pretty straightforward, but thankfully it's improved over FF2 in that the Skullcross gang, who stepped in after the vacuum from Mad Gear's destruction, initiates a city-wide attack, and it's up to our quartet to take them down. No kidnappings, no opaque motivations, just skull-breaking action. It feels like everything Capcom could have done to expand Final Fight's core gameplay was implemented here, as pretty much every aspect saw a new wrinkle or layer added to it. Players can now dash or back hop, which led to additional attacks. Special move inputs, much like Street Fighter's, were included and could be used at any time without a life-draining penalty.
Like the mid-90s had a lot of like cool beat-em-ups. I know Pirates of Darkwater was in this time. I'm trying to think of what else, but there was a bunch of them that I recall or I remember seeing. It's like, man, this was the time for beat 'em ups.
Each character now had several throws at their disposal, along with new combo attacks for weapons specific to them. Hagar could swing around a pipe multiple times in a far-reaching arc. Guy could do big damage with nunchucks. Dean threw a powered-up hammer, and Lucia could dish out some capital punishment with a billy club. Super moves were another big addition that was, again, obviously inspired by fighting games. As you took down enemies, you filled up a meter that would briefly flash when filled, and if you entered in your unique command, the screen would freeze as you laid into your opponent with moves like Hagar's devastating Final Hammer.
That's what we like to call big damage.
The changes
now that's a lot of damage.
Just the combat either, as Final Fight 3 featured a somewhat
Yeah, so like you could skip stages in this, which is kind of wild, or like, you know, go out of order, or just skip certain sections of a stage entirely, which is really interesting.
Map that consisted of dozens and dozens of rooms and routes, with some being pretty hard to find. If you broke open certain doors or barriers, you could avoid bosses, fight alternative ones, and in some instances, skip entire stages. A lot of these alternative routes were not obvious, as there was no big "go" or "enter here" signs at any point, which made finding all of them really fun. Those were the days, weren't they? Before yellow paint made navigating a level idiot-proof.
Wait, where do I go now?
Mostly. And in a complete reversal of the rush job that was done on Final Fight 1 SNES, not only were 4 playable...
Sometimes it's just okay to get lost. So that's just the fun of the game.
Characters available, as well as 2-player co-op, FF3 added CPU co-op as a bonus. So if you didn't have a buddy in the room with you, you could still do some tag teaming. Oh, there's gotta be a better way to say that. I mean, sure, the artificial intelligence wasn't exactly intelligent no matter what the setting was on, as it always died before you got to the final level, but it was still a cool little innovation nonetheless. Despite all this great stuff, however, FF3 still had some...
What's wrong with walking into walls? I don't know, you tell me. You're not going anywhere.
Perhaps due to all the sprites and special moves going off, along with all the triggers for different routes, performance-wise, Final Fight 3 chugged, especially in certain sections.
Mostly in co-op. Sadly, co-op made it slower.
16-bit games that looked kind of cool at times, but it happens so often that it could get kind of annoying. There's also the matter of the art style, which, as you can see, adopted a brighter, almost anime-like look, most likely influenced from the Street Fighter Alpha series that was going on at the same time. This is obviously a subjective thing, and I'm talking for myself here, but yeah, I prefer the grittier, slightly darker color palette of Final Fight 2. Although FF3 does get points by including female gang member May in all versions, completely unchanged. Finally, a dub for equality.
Equality and pile driving.
The last point of contention that most fans have with this one, though, is the difficulty, which is to say, it's not difficult at all. Even on the hardest setting, FF3 is a cakewalk compared to the last 2 games, and this is due to a variety of reasons. Firstly, the playable heroes are over-equipped with everything they can do, while the enemies rely on the same old tricks and attack patterns they were using in the late 80s.
Oh, you
Once
can
again, though,
do
it's
self-hurt.
fans to the rescue. You can find hacks that fix both the game's performance woes and its difficult.
Hey Shane, welcome on in.
And it does this through a litany of changes that sound a bit on the intimidating side, but
oh yeah, it's really cool to see like all these like hacks and like, well, not just hacks, but like improvement patches to games that were in the SNES days. Like I mean, I've started using them for like stuff like a Cybernator because it has like missing anime portraits, Breath of Fire 2, where it's translation, and yeah. The single play offline, who cares, dude? Yeah. Oh, hi, Radias. Did you go by a different name before? I don't think I remember talking to you because you might have changed your name. For cat-like villains, I'm not biased anyway. Yeah, I'm not going to judge you, Jack.
It now truly earns the game's Japanese subtitle of Final Fight Tough. But FF3, for as much as it did well, didn't really move the needle much in terms of revolutionizing the brawler and seeing the same big sales success that the genre had enjoyed in the early 90s. In fact, Capcom stopped making beat-em-ups just 1 year later with Battle Circuit, as by 1997, in terms of mainstream appeal, the belt had finally stopped scrolling. But then, in 1999, maybe in response to the arcade landscape changing the way it did, Capcom Japan and a small team at Capcom USA decided to collaborate on a spin-off that would hopefully revitalize Final Fight by becoming something completely different yet painfully familiar.
A 3D fighter, yeah. What we all were looking for.
Final Fight Revenge is indeed a special case, and while not spectacular either as a bad game or a good one, it's very unique in how and why it was developed. So if you want a further deep dive into that, including info direct from the people that made it, please do refer to my What Happened episode. Unfortunately, regardless of how it turned out in the end, it is one of those spin-off games that never really got a chance, as its initial arcade run was minuscule in Japan and pretty much non-existent in the rest of the world, so truly
I'd be surprised if there was a cabinet in anywhere aside from Japan, but if you know, like somewhere where like Galloping Ghost got one, I'd check it out.
Smaller than life release. There was, of course, the Sega Saturn port, which, to its credit, was arcade perfect, but again, was never released outside Japan, and even if it did, if it was for the Saturn, well, that was long dead in the West by that point. Hell, by mid-2000, when the port was released, the Dreamcast chances of bouncing back were already looking pretty dire. So, for decades, many fans never even got to try this bizarre little side
We were definitely robbed of more of
in both the internet and emulation.
Not the Dreamcast, but the Saturn's library.
Was, interesting. Simply put, FF Revenge is a fairly basic 3D fighting game with...
I think I remember reading Lore of Sodom in Street Fighter Alpha, but it's been a while. Yeah, I remember reacting to, with a friend, the Lore of Street Fighter, and I think there was stuff mentioned about Sodom himself, but I need to brush up on that.
Final Fight 1 characters, almost like a remake in a way, especially since it was released in arcades 10 years after the original. I think it's an absolute shame that it didn't just take characters from all over the franchise like Maki, Carlos, or Dean and just plop them all into a big massive dream match, but what can you do? In terms of gameplay and feel, the closest thing I can compare it to is the Street Fighter EX series, but even that is being very generous, as Revenge feels clunkier in about every way, and also features some of the very worst music in Capcom history.
It does feel kind of flat, the music.
It'll be a cold day in hell if any of that makes its way into the Street Fighter 6 jukebox. Now, all this next thing doesn't excuse revenge of those admittedly pretty bad problems. I will say it absolutely gets a ton of mileage out of just being really, really dumb. Weapons are strewn about every stage. Pick these up and you can initiate multi-hitting combos. And while there's the usual suspects like swords, pipes, and etc., there's also...
This gear is made from whatever garbage that found at a flea market. His American football uniform is kanji he wrote himself. Oh, I think I remember reading about that. It's like, okay, it's nothing special. He's just a dedicated, he just likes Japan stuff a lot.
Freeze guns, bazookas, flamethrowers, chainsaws, grenades, just about anything you can think of. All told, there's 25 freaking weapons in this game.
But this looks like he's searching from an old internet website. Oh my gosh. The things I love about old internet that still exists is out there. It's like, this is just the basic like web page for a fan site.
Which can lead to all types of stupid shenanigans.
Ultra combo! 30 hits! For no damage!
And that's not even accounting for the...
By using a machine gun, that should do more damage, honestly.
Super combos. Cody does his best Kenshiro impression. Rolento pilots a helicopter. Poison knocks you out with various sexy photos that would make Tony Storm blush. And Hagar literally pile drives you through the planet. All these supers have a knockout variation that produces a few funny additional effects, which is a nice little touch, but beyond that, it still is a pretty standard 3D fighter that you'd typically see in the late 90s.
Max and Yo Video Games cameo, let's go.
What's not so typical is the end boss, which, if you didn't know already, is Zombie Belger, who is exactly what he says he is on the tin. A resurrected corpse that has Dalsim-like extendo limbs, can self-destruct at will, and whose body parts can be used as melee weapons. Defeat him within the walls of the local Metro City Blood Palace, and you can earn a brief ending cinema of very little consequence. That is, except for poisons. This ending attempts to try and explain Cody's prison stint during the events of Street Fighter Alpha 3 by Poison and her Mad Gear buddies somehow pinning an unspecified crime on him. Not sure why Hagar couldn't have just investigated that a little bit more than not at all, but I don't think this is canon for obvious reasons. At the very least, it's neat seeing them try to connect things back to Street Fighter, even if it was never followed up on, and not even by the company that...
Also, isn't Cody just like incredibly strong and just can go in and out of his prison as he wants to? I think that was another case too. He's just like, if Cody is bored, that's it. Yeah.
Made it initially. Because this small team at Capcom USA, which was rebranded to Production Studio 8, got the chance to work on another Final Fight game a few years later, which unfortunately remains the last...
Like, kind of reminds me of, like,
entry in the franchise.
Jotaro Kujo. It's like, he just does that.
Again, I've already covered the development of this one in grueling detail over on What Happened. So if you're still like, why, how, and huh? In regards to Final Fight Streetwise's existence, well, the answers might be contained in there.
Also, AVGN covered it too, so...
As a very brief refresher though, the original pitch Capcom USA had made was a more unique but still traditional side-scrolling brawling affair, but this time in 3D, playing more akin to the likes of Dynamite Cop or Gekido on the PS1. However, this version was scrapped for various, very stupid reasons, and the team were essentially forced to restart and make something closer to Grand Theft Auto in the ludicrous hope that it would help to sell more copies. Which...
Yeah, like really, I don't think you're gonna get the Grand Theft Auto crowd with this. That's the kind of feels like, I don't know, Capcom made some weird decisions at this time.
It didn't. The game got lambasted in reviews for such things as poor camera controls, buggy gameplay, a broken save system, lack of classic playable heroes, and a cliched script and story. The fact is, it didn't please GTA fans, and certainly didn't please most Final Fight fans, as it sidelined all the characters they had come to know and love to focus entirely on Cody's never-before-mentioned little brother, Kyle. In this new story, taking place a decade or more after the events of Final Fight 1, Cody vanishes when he gets caught up in the criminal element of Metro City, lured by the prospect of being able to fight again via super steroids after he got old, I guess. I don't know. Everyone just keeps saying, Cody, your knees can't take it. Kyle then had to track down his brother in various boroughs throughout this far seedier version of Metro City, which is basically composed of 4 tiny hub worlds. Kyle's hood, the docks, Japantown, and Little Italy, where he eventually encounters both Hagar and Guy. Strangely enough, Capcom USA retconned Cody's prison stint again, saying that it was Guy that had committed another unspecified crime, and it was Cody who took the rap for it. Bro, like, please, just make up your mind. Anyway.
Man, Guy can't catch a break, can he?
During his downtime throughout this adventure, Kyle could also play annoying mini-games, perform fetch quests, and train and level up at a few gyms across the city. Finding these gyms was sometimes annoying because the maps weren't designed very well, as they're all largely composed of awkward sections that led to nowhere, along with everything looking very similar, which is to say drab and lifeless. Music was also a bummer too, as 90% of it was licensed metal and rap circa 2005, with only 2 to 3 remixes of classic Final Fight tunes. Where Streetwise excelled, well, where I mean it was better than
I guess you can't really play the music if it's licensed.
Punchy and impactful. There were a lot of attacks that Kyle could learn, including some taught by Hagar and Guy, which included the likes of suplexes, hurricane kicks, and various counter moves that could turn the tide of a fight rather quickly. These techniques would come in handy because some boss fights posed quite a challenge and required you to figure out the right timing and distance to attack, while others were just exercises in frustration and patience. To try and attempt to keep the positives going, exploring the nooks and crannies of the dingy game world would sometimes yield fun little references and Easter eggs. You'll find mentions of various Capcom characters, the
Dudley vs. Balrog, Fight of the Century,
pop in. Hell, even Amaterasu from Okami makes a background appearance in Guy's dojo stage.
Oh, that's cool.
Cameo is more random than Cammy, who after a lot of time appears in one of the underground fight clubs, but also as a later boss in Streetwise's arcade mode. Ah yes, the arcade mode, which just so happens to be the last positive aspect I'd like to talk about. This mode presents something akin to what the earlier version of Streetwise, Seven Sons, was going for. The camera is on a rail system and shoots the action from a consistent angle, and offers a stripped-down beat-em-up brawl where all 4 characters are selectable. But unfortunately, they all play largely the same. But the real shame with this extra mode is that for the first 15 minutes, it's pretty fun, but it offers almost the exact same experience as Final Fight 1. You have a light attack button, a hard attack button, which when combined produces a Mega Crush, a throw button, and that's about it. All of the cool new moves that
that's not very good.
Campaign don't transfer over here, so there's no instinct, counter moves, or dodges. What's worse is that the mode is pretty damn hard, at least when you're going solo, as the engine can push a lot of enemies on screen at once, who can quickly overwhelm you, and you only have 3 lives and no continues to deal with them. In co-op it's doable, but still a hardy challenge, but like, I get that this is an arcade mode, but fuck me, could we not have gotten 3 lives and 3 continues? Would that have been okay? All of this just really bums me out.
But it's giving you more longevity, yeah.
This mode could have redeemed the entire package if there were a few comic book style cutscenes added at the start and the end.
There literally was a Streetwise comic. They could have pulled off. Oh, I didn't know about this.
And, you know, nothing fancy, the moveset's getting diversified just a little bit more, and maybe you could have thrown in a smashing the car bonus round, and a proper end boss, and adjusting the... Okay, well now it seems like there's a lot you would needed to have done, but this still would have been pretty close to what I have actually have wanted for a 6th generation Final Fight sequel. Unfortunately though, it's merely just the best part of a bad to mediocre PS2 action game. I try my best to see the silver lining within Streetwise, but it's always a struggle. Not only was this the last game in the series, its failure caused the complete closure of Production Studio 8, who also had a Maximo 3 in the works that we'll never see.
Oh man, what could have been? That sours things a lot. I definitely want to play the Maximo game someday. I have a PS2 again. Selling guarantee. I don't know about that, but
hell, even the port of Final Fight Arcade that was unlockable within Streetwise was one of the worst ever, which is something I'll get to next, along with the future of the entire series. Final Fight has been released, re-released, and released again, so I'd like to point out a few, but not all of the ports it's gotten over the decades. Final Fight 1 for the GBA was a neat little version that tried to right the wrongs of the Super NES botch job, and went even a little bit further beyond it. All the heroes were present. There was 2-player compatibility via the link cable, every stage was accounted for, it's pretty much everything you could want. Yeah, the screen was a little bit truncated, some of the graphics were washed out, and there's that bit-crushed GBA sound, but it still played really well and came loaded with extras. New pre-boss fight dialogue scenes were added along...
Oh, that's cool. That just gives more content to the game itself.
With unlockable alpha versions of Cody and Guy, they even had their own unique cutscenes and dialogue. And on top of that, you could access a level select, change the number of lives, the punch speed, and even mess with costumes via a very basic color edit mode. In fact,
that's
the
cool.
only real sore spot with FF1 is that Poison and Roxy were still not present. Like, goddamn, why were Capcom still not past this shit by this point? I mean, grow up. Okay, so as I stated back in the Streetwise section, an arcade ROM of Final Fight was unlockable and playable when you beat a certain boss, but
you want to be a Japanese,
descriptor.
resident, yeah.
For whatever reason, it lagged like a hungover son of a bitch on a Monday morning, just dropping frames all over the place, along with a general 20 FPS average, while also having a nasty filter applied to it that you couldn't turn off. But wait, there's more! There was also screen tearing, some sound emulation issues, and even the occasional example of corrupted graphics. Like, okay, I'm not sure how it was possible to botch a port of an 80s arcade game on a 2000s era console this badly, but bro, they found a way. With all that said, I don't know why you'd bother seeking out this version to play specifically, but if you are, I implore you to reconsider. Skipping past the old PS2 collections, Final Fight Double Impact was the first modern reissue of the arcade original that started it all, and remains a cool little package to this day. Not only did it have drop-in and drop-out co-op play via rollback netcode, there was a ton of extra supplementary material that you could earn via the Vault by completing certain in-game achievements. Stuff like this is mostly accessible right away in Capcom's most recent collections, but Double Impact kinda went above and beyond with it. While there was plenty of concept art, fan art, and comic book pages, the crown was of course the full Final Fight episode of the Street Fighter animated series, something that's so very near and dear to my heart.
Oh yeah, it has the crossover
To
episode.
this day, though, I'm still not sure why the double of Double Impact was Magic Sword of all things. Captain Commando would have made a lot more sense, but regardless, this release helped spearhead
Magic
Capcom's
Sword,
move
huh?
towards more digital collections, which is something I'll be eternally grateful for. Finally, there's the version included in the Capcom Beat 'em Up bundle, and you really can't go wrong with this one. It includes some extra developmental material, the rollback netcode, and is available on pretty much every modern platform. And of course comes with a bunch of other great brawlers like Knights of the Round, Armored Warriors, and the aforementioned Mr. Commando. Come to think of it, with this release and the fact that the Punisher was included in the recent Marvel collection, that now means all the classic Capcom beat-em-ups are now present and accounted for.
Yeah, that's funny when they included the Punisher in the second collection. It's like, I wonder how much more they can get into a third collection. That'd be pretty sick if they do announce that sometime, but I doubt it. Oh. Yeah, the elephants are in the room and they're crying out, "We want to be in it too." It's like, oh.
I've shouted out some fan game projects already, so why not list a few more? I got time. Final Fight LNS has been around for years, and while its impressive amount of characters and multiplayer capabilities are super cool, I do find it a little too different from classic Final Fight. While feature-rich, it strays into another category altogether, but if you're into beat-em-ups or fighting games in general, it makes for a good mindless time. I was initially really over the moon about Fight Forever when I first caught wind of test videos that started popping up online, which showed what was possible with this crazy new combat system, complete with FF2 Hagar chaining a ton of insane throws together. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Like, this is exactly what I wanted, a new 2D sprite-based Final Fight fan game with over-the-top mechanics.
Yeah, fan games go hard here.
Expectations were misplaced from the start, or the game's focus changed along the way, because now it seems to be veering into the LNS direction, as it's going to have a ton of characters that have nothing to do with Metro City. The Ninja Turtles, the dude from Tough Enough, and the less cooler version of Captain Commando, Sonic Blastman. Now, don't get me wrong.
Nice, Sonic Blastman.
Awesome, and you can definitely see all the work put into it, but it's not really Final Fight either, you know? What is very Final Fight, though, is the 30th Anniversary Edition. That was, of course, not put out by Capcom, but instead passionate fans. This added 3-player simultaneous co-op with increased enemy health to compensate for it, as well as selectable costume colors while preserving the original arcade content, all without cuts. What's more, incredibly, is that this is compatible with the original CPS-1 hardware. So,
3 Haggars
authentic Final Fight
drop into a bar.
Garage, yeah, you can get this version.
They all ask for pile drivers.
There are, of course, dozens more fan games than the ones I listed here. So, if you'd like to shout out a few in the comments below, feel free. Stepping back to take a wider view of the whole series now, Final Fight heroes and villains have appeared in a lot of other Capcom games over the years, especially on the streets, the Street Fighter street. So let's break down
and
the
do 4 players, yeah.
Inclusions. Mike Hagar starred in both Muscle Bomber / Saturday Night Slam Masters games, with Jessica in tow as his manager. And although he still has yet to appear in a single Street Fighter tournament, it is a nice consolation prize. He was the only FF representative in the last 2 Marvel vs. Capcom clashes. And hey, they even gave him his midlife crisis ponytail look. Guy, Cody,
that is a nice look
Sodom
indeed.
were of course all in the Alpha series, as well as both heroes making it into Super Street Fighter 4 and onward, only to be joined later by the tag team of Poison / Hugo, who debuted in Street Fighter 3. And Rolento in Ultra Street Fighter 4, as I guess they were all desperate to get the fuck out of Cross Tekken only jail. Cody eventually reformed his ruffian ways in Street Fighter V, although oddly, Guy was MIA in that game. So in his place was Zeku, a former Bushin Ryu master who was only ever seen in one of Guy's alpha endings, which poses the question...
That's kind of wild. It's like, that feels like a deep cut for a character choice.
Character or a Final Fight one. Poison and Lucia made surprise appearances in 5 as well, coming equipped with brand new looks and fighting styles to match that game's overhauled mechanics. But really, it was Abigail that made the most impact in 5 as the Final Fight rep, thanks to his insane model size and insanier kit, which let him get away with some very stupid stuff early on. Maki fortunately found her way.
It looks like Abigail had a lot of super armor too, which is like, oh boy.
Into the world of Capcom vs SNK 2 and eventually Alpha 3. But sadly, those have been her only other appearances since. Like, she absolutely needs to come back someday. Notable by his absence in any major title, though, is of course that crusty, bitter old Dean, who hasn't been seen since 1996.
Yeah, it's like 30 years later, he's not been in a single game since then. That's kind of, it's like, Capcom's forgotten him.
Carlos Miyamoto hasn't returned in playable form either, but he was fightable in the World Tour mode of Street Fighter VI, and weirdly, he's one of the few Final Fight characters that have. The Andore family is in there, and Thrasher/Damned is featured pretty prominently and is fightable as well, but like, that's it, despite the entire mode mostly taking place in Metro City. So like, Hagar, Cody, Guy, Poison, Hugo, Lucia, barely anyone is ever even mentioned, to the point it's kind of become awkward. I can only hope that the next season of Street Fighter VI has at least 1 or 2 classic Final Fight heroes or villains included. Like, for example, did you know...
I mean, yeah, no Final Fight, but King of Fighters / Fatal Fury, another FF.
Sodom is the only character from the Alpha series that's never returned in a later Street Fighter game. Like, I just feel bad for the guy. You know what else I feel bad about, though? It being 2026 and there being no new Final Fight entry in a time period where beat-em-ups are unquestionably back. Streets of Rage, Double Dragon, TMNT, Scott Pilgrim, hell, even the damn Brawl Brothers / Rushing Beat series is returning. And yet still, Capcom has done nothing significant with Final Fight outside of Street Fighter or the occasional up-teens release of the first game. Now, if some of you don't remember, way back in 2020, there was a leaked list of upcoming Capcom products.
I guess they need approval first.
Tend to leak, like, a lot. But the list stated that a new Final Fight was supposed to come out in 2024.
What? Super Final Fight Remake quarter 2024. Oh. I wonder about that. Power Stone Remake quarter 3 2024. Maybe they just used the fighting collections as like a way to make up for that.
So, looking at my calendar here, you guys are a little late on.
It looks like it, yeah, but they're slated for like 23 and 24, so.
Yes, which is probably true, or that the game was canceled at some point, which is also probably true. Again, I'm not asking for some giant AAA RE engine-powered open-world sandbox thing. I just need a good-looking 2D brawler that has impactful combat and updated mechanics, and a nice mix of all the characters that we've adored and looked up to. Because, man, those are the heroes that
Also, Flan, if you see the incoming ad break, don't worry, the video is almost over.
Thank you to everyone that has made it this far into this video. I'm very aware that I talk about this particular hyperfixation quite a bit, but I hope you enjoyed this retrospective, maybe even learned something new. Oh, and a quick call to action here. If you ever find yourself on your social media of choice and you see Capcom either asking for feedback or announcing new titles, take a second out of your day and please just comment, "When's Final Fight?" It is one of my favorite franchises of all time. It is legendary. Any of you that have watched up until this point are legendary. And I am Matt Muscles, and I will see you next time.
it's something to think about. Like, I wish more Final Fight was being made. That would, I mean, Capcom's on a upswing. Our guidelines, not deadlines. Yeah. Like, it's not like it's going to happen. It could happen. It might happen, but not always happening. Anyway, be right back. Alright, well, keeps on doing that. I don't understand. Alright. Welcome back, everybody. So, I did have something to share. So, because of the hack news recently, I got part 1, part 2 of the original series, which I want to replay on stream someday. I'm gonna work, Part 3, I know I can get you not without much difficulty. Part 4 is where I just go straight to, let's just grab a disc only. But yeah, like, I was a big fan of this back then, and I'm glad I beat it eventually, but it took like several years for me to get the series again. Like, this was like 15 years ago. But now, like, the market has changed a lot. I was like, I want to get these parts again and keep them, because I know they're dear to me. I was a big fan of the series. And there's a VTuber that I caught, like, that talks about it too. And I feel like, you know, she brings a lot of insight into this. She admits to, like, her name is Angel Steps, and she streams on Twitch too, but she does, like, YouTube videos separately. But this is, like, she was so passionate about recording this, like, she might have, like, blipped out her image of her by blipped out once or twice in this video, but that's not a problem. It's worth listening to what she has to say about it.
For the first time in almost a decade, we are getting a new installment to the .hack series. And this time, it's not just a remaster with some extra content. I'm talking a full 100% new title. Today, CyberConnect 2 came out of nowhere with a trailer and announcement about their newest project, .hack 0. In the trailer, we see some extremely familiar faces, important callbacks, and all kinds of tasty data that any old-school .hack fan would recognize, bringing this legendary series back from its grave and to the forefront for the first time in years. .hack is an old-school...
Granted, we had the remaster of GU come out in 2017, and I think, you know, we could have had a timeline where they did the work on this both and Final Fantasy VII Remake. But they did apparently such a poor job, according to Square Enix, that they got kicked off of it. So it's kind of, I guess they were able to focus on this more.
JRPG and anime manga series that started back in 2002 with the release.
Look at all that right there. It's like, they had stuff going for a good while, and then it just petered out, like, at the tail end. And, you know, like, a lot of them was on PS2. I forgot Fragment was PS2 and PC. .hack Link was PSP. Late PSP, it looks like. And then Versus, I don't even remember really what it was. That was on PS3.
Of the anime .hack sign and its first game series, .hack Infection. The series explored a near future, at the time anyway, where people would log into a VR MMORPG called The World and explore dungeons, fight monsters, and spend time chatting with friends. Ironically, in 2002, this was more or less sci-fi. While VR was a topic and had been in development, this was long before the current situation where VR is readily accessible by the modern-day consumer. It's really crazy looking back at some of the original .hack media and seeing...
Yeah, I mean, VR was, like, still, like, it, you know, being conceptualized back then. We're not even talking about Virtual Boy stuff, which is sort of like that, but you couldn't, like, walk around with it. And having access to, like, VR chat, like, you could just use a VR headset and go into there, or you could use, like, your, you know, like, you could do it without the use of a VR headset for Steam.
How the predictions they made then both match and are horribly off with how VR and the internet is used today. But funny enough, this is an important point for the new game, but we'll get to that later in the video. In the game The World, a terrible phenomena happens that causes players in the game to enter into a coma. Over the different installments in the series, Sign, IMOQ, Bracelet of Twilight Roots, GU, and Link, different situations within those bounds occur, but it always comes back to a certain AI named Aura. Now, I won't spoil the games of old here because I'd really like you to experience them. Granted, it isn't the easiest to get a hold of some of those titles currently, but hey, this might be the first wheel of change in that regard.
Yes, announced on the 18th. I mean, I did talk about it like a few days after it was announced because I had the chance to, because I was really excited about this. It was like, you know, and I saw her video. I never got to, like, you know, share it and talk about it.
And I'll have a series breakdown in the description for where to start enjoying this legendary series. What I will mention is that the cast of characters
Overlord and Cyber Sleuth could run, yeah.
As we see in this trailer, look rather similar to the main
I don't really consider it an isekai because, like, it, you're basically, it's a mystery, you know, like you're in and out of the world, like basically figuring things out. Like the novels have you outside of it, and the games have you inside. Well, I mean, a little bit of both, and some of them is source material.
Cast of Dot Hack IMOQ, the most beloved installment in the series, and also a set we've been unable to get proper remasters of due to big issues with the IP holder Bandai Namco. People have been begging for a remake of IMOQ for over a decade. And
yeah, since then, Bandai Namco have merged, so it's become a bigger entity.
And a half, and it's more or less fell on deaf ears. CyberConnect has shown open interest in developing a new game, and many of us had hoped after Bandai produced Dot Hack GU Last Record that maybe we'd finally get it, but that kind of fell to the side. That said, here we are with what looks like a Dot Hack IMOQ inspired new installment produced entirely by CyberConnect themselves. This is kind of insane because this doesn't really happen. So Bandai to this day still holds the IP, but has given the okay to CC Corp to in-house produce an entire new series using said IP. Bandai isn't producing it, nor are they...
So basically they took off the chains of this IP and said, go free. Let CC Corp do what they want.
Helping fund it.
Which I did not know about that originally. It was like, this is not usually a norm. It's like, there's more like restrictions. It's like, that makes it more exciting. It's like, imagine how much more they could do with it with that.
Being self-produced through CC Corp, which is incredible. We're about to see the ground zero of a true passion product from a company that has dedicated 30 years, as of today, to this world and the series they have made, and I couldn't be more excited. But before we deep dive CC Corp and their announcement today, let's talk...
I'm sure they would, yeah. It's like... I mean, now that there's more attention to it compared to, like, you know, 2002, 2003, because like there was a lot of, like, you know, other games and series that took over. Like, you know, Final Fantasy VII Remake still has its third part. Moving them is different, yeah.
The trailer. So it opens up...
And they changed it to, you know, a sequel rather than just a one-to-one, which I'll be weird about it because, like, I never thought it'd be a true remake. You know, like, it's more like Sephiroth remake, which, you know, granted, Sephiroth is hard to, like, kill anyway. So, like, I've seen people like Sebi Webs, which I've generally recently just caught. It is, you know, content about, like, how, you know, they shouldn't have been doing it. It's like, I get it. But I'm kind of like that person that's like in the middle. It's like, you know, I watch other people talk about, you know, FF7 Remake and how, you know, they could have done it. But it's like, the other way is like, I'm not offended by it. Some people are, I'm not.
To a sky view of what looks to be Tokyo in the mid-afternoon. It's modern, maybe slightly futuristic, as we see some kind of helicopter-like drones carrying packages. From here we see some sort of social media page that we can only assume our main character is posting on. My Japanese isn't the best. However, what I more or less gleaned from these posts is that our main character is posting online about how life is hard and feeling an inescapable sort of emptiness. However, the comments they receive in response to their feelings are far from positive. Most of the comments are unempathetic and find reasons to fault the original poster, claiming their depression is their fault, or...
Ah, okay. Apparently, yeah, they have, like, translations of these, which is kind of cool to see. Like, you can read these as like, oh, it's your fault. So Twitter, yeah. Discount Twitter.
That they should try harder in life rather than complain. We quickly watch all these comments that are negative get blocked, which honestly, mood, Twitter's a nightmare, I get it. A really important panel comes up in the middle of this though. We get some sort of quick shot of a hospital bed, which I can only assume is a coma patient. It wouldn't be Dot Hack if we didn't have someone in a coma due to the world. And that's the first actual reveal we kind of get in this trailer. Who's in the bed? No clue, but given what we know about IMOQ, I'd like to wager a guess that that person in the bed is probably our main character's best friend. From this point, we get thrown into a chase scene that definitely takes place inside the online VR MMORPG The World, featuring a character that sure looks like Kite from .hack IMOQ, running away from something in a dungeon that's a carbon copy of Delta, bursting past over Aquafield. The dungeon we see in the first game where Kite's friend Orca gets data drained and the entire plot of The World begins. The fact that this occurs right after seeing the comatose patient can't be coincidence. The blue-haired boy continues to run and we get a zoomed shot of a girl with long white hair and an infinity symbol attached to her chest. The iconic design of the AI behind the entire world.
And there's Skeet Swan, like if that's not obvious enough, in chains.
Aura. Keeping my notes in order though, from here we see a fight scene externally from the dungeon. I'm assuming this is taking place on the field map of the same location. We see a Blade Master that really looks like Balmung and a Heavy Blade that really looks like Black Rose. So now we have lookalikes of the entire main cast of .hack IMOQ that fans have been begging for years, all in one place, except .hack IMOQ took place in 2010, so it can't be the same characters, right? We get some interesting angle shots showing Aura from the back in a black dress, and a close-up of Skate's cross tied down with chains, and a black feather floating down from above before we quickly zoom back to the fight between Balmung and Black Rose. Whatever's chasing Kite catches up and the game corrupts, showing us this lovely red screen and a bunch of pop-up windows that come up in quick succession. Now, here's where things get really interesting. The first set of pop-up windows look like an email from CC Corp, but the message themselves actually is more like a forum from a bunch of different posters. The names of the posters, though, are strange. We have names like Sense of Justice, Loneliness, Threats. These seem more like inner thoughts or emotions. And to make matters even more interesting, these messages...
I find it kind of amazing that within hours of this showing, people have like translations for this like ready for people to look at. It's like...
target the main character's pain, just like the social media board we saw moments ago. Just to read a few. You still think someone's going to explain things to you? Visiting you while you're hospitalized feels good, so stay quietly like that the whole time. Seriously, what are you? Every time I talk to you, nothing but trouble comes up. And then a bunch of error codes hit the screen, which the codes, interestingly enough, match up to the release dates from the original .hack releases. Every important release date of the mainline series is listed here. That's crazy important, and 100% leads me to believe we aren't just looking at a single game release. I think we're looking at a full .hack revival. But staying on track, we see Aura, but this time clad...
That would be really cool to see. It's like, it's a new era for this. It's like, let's go.
In black with dark arms and legs reaching out to our Kite lookalike. I can't help but notice she's also missing the infinity mark that we just saw on Aura moments ago. But either way, she looks
Aura went to Hot Topic.
Wild change of mood from the Aura we've known for the last 3 decades. Kite takes her hand and things get more corrupted, and next thing we know, Kite's on the field map, angry and upset. He points his arm at our Black Rose and Balmung lookalikes fighting below and uses data drain. Insane trailer. I can't even begin to wrap my head around the reality I'm living in. I have dreamed of getting more .hack content for years, and this is like a fever dream. The Kite we know and love would never cast data drain on a person, especially given that data drain is typically connected to the comas that plague the real world. But given all the forum and social media posts we saw in the earlier parts of the trailer, I'm pretty sure the focus here is going to be on the darker aspects of the modern online world. Now, I'm gonna tackle one other big chunk of info we've been given before I fangirl and go over my personal takes, because right after the trailer drop, we were graced with an interview from Matsuyama Hiroshi, the CEO of CyberConnect 2. In it, we were given some character design sheets and some insider info regarding this new game's development. According to Matsuyama-san, .hack 0 has been in development for over a decade now, and is to be a completely new installment of the .hack series that both old-time fans and entirely...
For over a decade, so that tells me, what, since 2015? I know it's like stuff like this being shown is like, wow, they were really like, passionate about like their, the concepts and stuff. So either it's like 2015, 2014 is like if it's over a decade, because 2026 is still fresh. So it's like Hmm. This is like, yeah, it's like early PS4 era. They started, conceptualizing things. Meanwhile, we're doing other projects.
New fans can enjoy. We know it's going to be an action-focused RPG and that it'll feel different from prior installments while maintaining the core vibe of Dot Hack, and that despite the name similarity, this game holds zero connection to the novel Dot Hack Zero. This one is Z.E.R.O with a period in between, and that's going to hold some sort of story game importance. CC Corp is self-publishing this title. They were given the okay from Bandai to make this, but Bandai Namco is not involved in its production at all, making this an interesting piece because all prior releases had to get funneled through a Bandai creative team as well. This time, it's entirely CC Corp, so nothing's gonna get held back this time around. The thing that really caught my attention was this, though. Matsuyama-san brings up how Dot Hack was originally made at a time where the internet was fresh and new. We didn't know what the...
Oh yeah, here's where she forgot to put a PNG of her in there for a little bit, but that I'm not worried about that. It's she already talked about it when I popped in her stream the other day. And to be honest, it's 2002, 2003 was there was still a lot of old internet, 90s internet that I could browse through, and the links were still fresh. It's it was definitely a different time. And I was into the internet, even in high school, some middle school. So I was aware, how to explore it, go to fan sites and stuff, because I was discovering anime in the later 90s. So there was Anime Web Turnpike,
world would bring, and Dot Hack was
which
fresh
will make people's bones turn to dust.
Lives, and with it we have not only a deeper understanding of it, but we've also seen the negatives. He directly addresses how the internet today has a lot of darkness to it, and that this new game is going to showcase a much more realistic and accurate concept of how the internet is also cruel. We kind of already see this directly in the trailer, so I'm beyond excited to see how they approach this topic. As a VTuber, I'm no stranger to the judgment the internet brings, and Japan's idolsphere is specifically a hotbed of internet discourse, hate threads, doxing, and all kinds of bad stuff. If they plan on taking this to some level of that darkness in their concept of the plot, I can only imagine what it's going to be like. They also mentioned that before, the games were severely limited in being able to showcase both the real world and the online world, but that the real world and real life consequences are going to play a solid role this time around. Dot Hack has always been a dark series, so I am beyond ready to see what they've been cooking. This interview has
Yes, even Dot Hack Dusk, the anime at least had a lot more comedy to it, but there was always a serious moment or two that brought it back to, what it, usually was about, like crazy things happening in the world.
A lot of fun and interesting points. I highly recommend you read it too. See what you think about a lot of their discussions. Plus, you can check out some of the extra info that's in there that I haven't covered today. It will be in the description, so you can give it a read yourself. I grew up on Dot Hack. I watched the
Under a magnifying glass, yeah.
Heck, I even read and own multiple of the visual novels, but before we had things like FNAF and Poppy Playtime where we had to dig for data to figure out the story, Dot Hack was our media scavenger hunt. The internet was so new, and every release had different important information to piece together, but it was never clear and easy, right? I remember having to go through and find forum boards with map codes to seek out and try to find hidden story points that then connected to different books and all kinds of different forms of media, and just how much...
Yeah, I definitely wonder if I went to half price books, how much if I could find some of the novels or manga that was produced for it, because Tokyo Pop published that stuff, for North American markets. So, I don't know how sought after it is right now.
Much fun it was to hunt down every tiny piece of information. I have been begging for a remake of IMOQ for years. I've replayed the games on stream, I've read the novels and ASMR streams, I've vocally screamed into the void, that's called Twitter, about how much I love the games on a relative frequent basis. I even signed into the Bandai...
I actually know somebody who started playing this before, a few weeks before the announcement, And it's been fun to just watch them go through the Dot Hack original series and, you know, just talk about it.
Partner program in hopes that maybe, just maybe, if I brought the game up enough in their partner Discord, they'd remake it, only to wake up to this lovely gem. I'm so excited. Now, the final thing I want to yap your head off about that I'm almost convinced of, but there isn't really any proof to support this really, is that this announcement isn't just announcing their new game .hack 0. I believe that this is the start of a whole new .hack timeline. And there's one point of info I have to kind of prove it. In the credits page, at the end of the trailer, at the very top, it says Project Dusk. But according to Famitsu and the Twitter posts that they posted today, this game is referred to as
it's the sad reality of it, Flan.
Project Dusk. Also, Project Twilight was the name for the original series. Not only that, CC Corp has always been very passionate about the .hack world, and they've spent 10 straight years on this. I firmly doubt that this game is the only thing in the chamber. I think we're going to see a whole new line, assuming funding is decent and fans continue to support strongly, but us .hackers have been vocal and strong about it this whole time. We're not backing out now. Thank you for watching my first ever video essay. I've never done one of these before.
Hey, Bloodia.
I saw the trailer this morning. I knew I needed to sit down and break this down. It's one of the few topics that I'm super passionate about and know a fair enough about. I literally on stream yesterday was talking about setting my PS2 back up and continuing our .hack IMOQ playthrough later this month. Either way though, let me know in the comments what you are excited about for this game. Got theories? Find other cool things in the trailer I missed? Let me know.
Yeah. So, oh yeah, and it's like Spicy Audios. She has like other stuff like ASMR, but you know, that's whatever. But yeah, she brought up a good point. Like everybody's excited for this. Also, I found this and I just like, oh, I want to see the funny moments for the Toradora dub. But yeah, like I appreciate people, you know, indulging me on my fascination of .hack a little bit, because like that's something I had been normal to talk about, just like other RPGs, and now it's like there's another RPG series that's getting attention again, and I love it.
Huh? Whoa! It's a battle for top dog. What the heck? She's so tiny.
OMG! It's Takasu the Thug and the Palm Top Tiger. Be quiet!
Palm Top Tiger? Oh,
It took me going but to her Twitter to see the day she posted it. Yeah, it was last week. It was like I brought up a stuff from last week. It's kind of funny because, like, you know, I mean, I should have gushed about it sooner, but you know what? It's whatever. Hey, next time, how you doing?
I see the palm thing. Yeah, better if I just leave her alone.
Stop!
What?
What the heck did you think you're doing?
No, look. Whoa. See? I'm just getting my bag is all.
Wait a sec, that's your bag? Isn't your seat the one next to... Oh no. Did I mix them? No way!
Please leave. My borderline mental mother is gonna be home any minute.
I want your opinion about love letters. Like if you think they're old-fashioned.
Oh, come on! Don't get like this on me now!
This is gonna be great! Now let's do the best we can to enjoy every moment of our teenage years!
Will do. Okay.
I need you to turn in a career plan if you could, because everyone else already has.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I forgot.
No, I'm sorry. The last thing you need is to be lectured by a nearly 30-year-old spinster with no goals of her own. I mean, I was Your daddy's in heaven now. But when he was alive, what a hunk! He used to keep magazines under his shirt in case someone tried to stab him.
Yeah, hello, it's... Yeah, hello.
You hung up on me.
Hi, sucker, it's me.
You hung up on me. You must die.
I'm coming in.
That is one intense odor. Huh?
I sucker! For the love of God and all his holy, please let me clean up that horrible mess of a kitchen!
What's wrong?
Come on. Hurry up and go in already. Squee!
Squee.
I stick out
Squee.
like a sore thumb in this, don't I? Okay, she's super cute and she's got a great body, but something's fishy here. When I aim my radar for detecting cute girls at her, it doesn't pick anything up. Maybe it needs recalibrating.
Men start clearing a path for the procession. There are a few carriages blocking the path, and when Genji's men try to make them move,
I love this. Oh, Disembodied, how you doing? Well, come on in. You're hearing voices. Oh no. Hi. How is Cinecross? I saw you were playing that, but I didn't really check it out. It's probably one of those. Is it one of the many Steam games I probably have not heard of coming out? But yeah, welcome on in. Hi everybody. I'm fellow United Retro Media VTuber. I talk about old stuff and play old games, and I just found this thing talking about the Toradora dub being, like, funny and how it's scripted. I just wanted to check it out a little bit before going to another video. So, it's a nonogram roguelike. Interesting. There's like so many of those coming out now lately. So, I appreciate, you bringing people here. It's like, I didn't know how long, if I was going to stream today, because I'm still feeling kind of bleh, but I blame it on the weather.
recognize
Yeah.
Genji's why.
Takasu, I'm really angry.
How can we have pork cutlets for dinner without any sauce?
Pork cutlets?
Berkshire pork cutlets.
For the Diet Warriors who live on in our memories. Mm-hmm. Oh, look! I found a piece of trash that looks just like you.
Come on, Tiger! Wake up! Wake up! Wake up! Come on!
Like super duper cute in this swimsuit. It's scary, even in something as plain as this. Seriously, I wonder how far I can take this look. I mean, with this charm, this beauty, this bod, this style.
Oh, Ami, you try too hard.
Tiger, you're such a little perv tonight, aren't you?
Don't sexually harass my mother!
He should have had more fire to that, but it came off as like, I don't know.
Tiger, don't tell me you've
Shut
got no...
up! Don't say it! Don't say another word!
You're flat-chested?
Okay.
I mean, it was kind of obvious. Like, petite high schooler and all that.
Hey, where is everybody? Don't tell me they're late.
What up?
You're 2 minutes late, Ami.
Morning, Amin!
Oopsie, wrong platform.
The dumb chihuahua did what? She pretended like she was taking a shower and teased you, and then she gave you the straight arm. Okay. Come here, horn dog! The dumb chihuahua really was taking a shower. And she was all boom and boing and bam! And he doesn't need to know that!
It's like, she really feels, she really feels like, inferior now.
Looks like dinner's almost ready. If you need help setting the table, I'm up for it.
Oh, goody.
Hey, Taiga!
Are you insane, Yusaku?
Oops, my bad. I heard Takasu talking and forgot you girls might be down here too.
Oh God, I forgot about that scene. It's been so long since I watched Toradora. It's like, you're just there in your towel, dude.
Hey, booyah! Hey. Damn, you cut like narcissists. Show me some cheek.
Jeez, stop that.
Yes, hot. You can't be shy with a bod like that.
Come on, stop.
Holy cow! I just saw something black and bushy.
Oh.
The English, they really did love doing the English stuff for this. Holy cow.
You slice onions like a pro, Kushida.
Oh, nice. Thank you for the 64 months, Yoko. I appreciate it. Hope work is going well for you.
I just got a compliment. Yay! The sun's burning bright today. I'm a beautiful angel.
She's such a spaz.
2, 3. Let's hold hands so we don't get separated. Okay, just whatever you do, don't let go.
Whoa, looks like Ami's riding the tiger.
Oh, I want her to ride me too.
Ladies and gentlemen!
What the heck's up with you? There's no ladies here.
Sometimes I get the feeling I might be a lesbian.
Huh?
Well, if you ask me, I hope...
Okay, I hope you have a good birthday stream when it happens.
You're not?
Yeah, me too.
So, you want to hit the supermarket with me before we go home?
As long as you don't go all housewife on me, because I'm exhausted.
Whatever you say. You know, today they're having a special sale on...
Seriously? Shut up.
Yeah, it was just, I found apparently there's more funny moments for Toradora, but I just wanted to share this one. I'll definitely put on the part 2 another time. Let's see what else I have here. Okay, yeah, let's go with this. I've been wanting it. I wanted to see something on the 40th anniversary of Zelda, because, like, it's definitely worth mentioning.
Appeared on store shelves across.
So yeah, GTV Japan does a lot of good content, and I just wanted to share this because it's important. Part of gaming history.
Time when the family computer had reached mainstream success and stood at a crossroads. The game was a shock to the system, a watershed moment when video games moved beyond levels and high scores and opened the door to a world that felt endless and infinite. 40 years later, the Zelda series is cherished by millions around the world, and the original game is held in the highest regard as one of the most important and best video.
It's interesting we were given a cartridge version instead of like the disc system version. But like, like media was changing at a rapid rate in the 80s and 90s, so
video games ever made.
It runs in the family. The family computer was designed to let arcade systems be played at home. We developed the disk system to support floppy disks, which enabled more storage and new gameplay possibilities. I wonder what it would have been like if we had the disk system for a little bit too.
When The Legend of Zelda first went on sale in Japan in February 1986, Nintendo was king of the mountain. The family computer had been around for almost 3 years and was far and away the best-selling, most popular TV game machine in the land of the rising sun. The most success came from Super Mario Bros., a game starring its flagship character, Mario, in what was the biggest game of 1985 in size, scope, and sales, quickly becoming the best-selling game ever in Japan. The Legend of Zelda was planned to be the next big game following Super Mario Bros., The only way to go above and beyond Mario was to break the battle.
Also, I noticed like the UI on top looks a lot sharper on the disk system.
Sounds of the family computer itself. When The Legend of Zelda went on sale on that very first day, the game wasn't on a cartridge, but a floppy disk. It all goes back to 1983. When Nintendo was designing the family computer, company president Hiroshi Yamauchi insisted that the hardware be commercially viable.
Man, Hiroshi Yamauchi looked very like slick back then. Especially like he was in his 50s in 86, so it was like, yeah. It quickly caps out. Oh, okay. I know they did like services for like burning discs too back then.
For at least 3 years. The main engineer behind the project, Masayuki Uemura, complied, though technically
they were specialty discs too, not like the 3.5-inch floppies we used to have.
Boss's decree. The design of the family computer.
Even then, for like Amiga, you had multiple discs.
Portability and durability. A low-cost 8-bit CPU ran the games, which were heavy plastic cartridges, referred to as cassettes in Japanese, due to their similar size and shape. This design had limits. Each family computer cartridge could hold a maximum of 320 kilobits of data.
Oh, 320 kilobits. Oh, equal to 40 kilobytes. Okay, they at least tell us that. That's not a whole bunch.
Kilobytes in the new math, which were divided into two parts. The PRG-ROM, which holds the game program, all the data for the levels, scoring system, and music, as well as a CHR-ROM, which holds the...
This was before mappers. Oh, okay. So that was the capacity before mapping became a thing.
Character data. Graphical elements like the game's heroes, villains, and background tiles are stored here. The PRG-ROM had a maximum size of 256 kilobits. The CHR-ROM, 64 kilobits. Many of the early family computer games, like Donkey Kong and Mario Brothers, were under this limit. The games were very close to the arcade and affordable, perfect for kids and adults. On day one, July 15, 1983, the 3-year clock started to count down, weighing heavy on those working behind the scenes. More advanced games would follow, but these could only go so far before hitting the technical wall. With larger memory sizes also came higher prices. The games of 1983 were only 3,800 yen, but by 1984, games over 5,000 yen started to appear, and by 1985 were commonplace. The competition would eventually leapfrog over the family computer with newer, better hardware. It already happened with the Sega Mark III in 1985.
I've never seen like the steering wheel thing for Sega Mark III at MagFest before. Like 7 floppies. Oh my gosh. I know like some Amiga games like took multiple and it was kind of wild to see. I think Dragon's Lair had a few other games because like that had like a lot of things to store on.
16-bit was only a few years away. And while not necessarily a problem, the family computer was growing in popularity, leaving Nintendo stuck with the family computer for the time being. It couldn't be replaced with something else without abandoning customers who had just gotten on board. With all of this coming to a head very soon, engineer Masayuki Uemura began to work on a solution in the last months of 1984. A floppy disk drive that attached to the family computer cartridge slot and expanded the capabilities of the base hardware. Software, officially called disk cards, could hold up to 1 megabit.
Also a big boy. Oh, I see.
512 kilobits on each side, allowing memory sizes that were impossible on a cartridge. Internally, the disk system included enhancements to in-game music with 1 extra channel of sound and additional RAM, allowing for game data to be rewritten back to the disk to be saved for later. A high score wouldn't disappear forever, and a game left half-finished could continue from that point, even after the power turned off.
Oh, interesting.
Furthermore, disc card games came at a much lower price, 2,500 yen, A game that used a
That's
full
not
disc
too bad
card
for a
was over
price.
5 times larger than a typical game from 1983, at about 1/3 of the price. Customers could also purchase a blank disc for 2,000 yen and write new games on it for only 500 yen using disc writer machines. If someone were bored with the current game on a disc card, it could be replaced over and over. All of this required an initial
Man, I wish we had something like that over here back then, but Japan got all the cool stuff.
investment of 15,000 yen, about $80 for the disk system. It cost slightly more than the base family computer itself, but with only a handful of games, it paid for itself and then some. Cheaper games wouldn't be enough to bring the masses on board. There had to be something more that drew people in. Much like Super Mario Bros., which moved millions of units, Nintendo needed something else appealing and groundbreaking to make the investment worthwhile.
A Link Between Worlds. Nice play on words there. With the world of swords and sorcery as my theme, I decided to make an adventure game based on the treasure hunting and that was the beginning of Legend of Zelda. Shigeru Miyamoto.
As the disk system was in development, the family computer continued its forward trajectory as the most popular TV game machine in Japan. With the eventual transition to discs on the horizon, chief game developer Shigeru Miyamoto began to produce 2 projects at the end of 1984 that would define the era. Super Mario Bros. Was designed to show off all that was possible on the family computer. 32 levels that scrolled left to right, filled with secrets, took practice and strategy to complete, and, above all, were very fun. It was meant to serve as a grand finale to the cartridge format. Developed alongside it was what became The Legend of Zelda, the grand opening to the next era of Nintendo games. The co-development of Mario and Zelda in parallel helped define what each one became. Mario was fast-paced and very linear. There was always a running timer. Speed was essential. Points were given out as rewards. There were many secrets, but most of them were easy enough to find. The game starred Nintendo's most well-known face, already defined and understood by audiences, and what style of game he was suited for.
Wonder, is anybody here gonna watch the Mario Galaxy movie?
Non-linear.
I'm definitely considering it, when it first is out.
Have a clear, definitive ending. There would be secrets, like in Mario, but not outwardly discoverable. It would take smarts, skill, and luck to decipher some of the game's toughest riddles. The hero would be an all-new character, one that the player could experience the game through, rather than simply following the story from his point of view. Miyamoto drew from personal experiences, a habit that often appears in games he produces. As a child, he would visit his grandparents, who lived in rural Kansai, Japan. He often roamed the countryside alone, discovering and exploring without any help. In his grandparents' house, he would sometimes get lost, moving around the many rooms that had sliding doors separating them. These memories laid the foundation for what became The Legend of Zelda. The concept of different worlds, one very open, one closed, that were connected, began to take shape. He shared these ideas with co-collaborator Takashi.
It's so cool to see the concept sketches here. It's very orderly, very square based, but that was what they needed at the time.
Tezuka. The vast landscape became the overworld. The claustrophobic rooms became the underworld. Shifting between these areas led to the name of the main character, Link. The one who can link worlds together and link the player with the world inside the game. With discovery as a key component, the need for items to find and their purpose began to arise. Link can collect weapons, tools, power-ups, and money to support.
I remember in the Legend of Zelda cartoon, seeing all the accessories that he has for other weapons and stuff, be real small, and when he needed them, they would magically enlarge to be ready to assist him.
Support him on his journey. Things like ladders and keys help expand the adventure into areas that are out of reach from the start. A special item was invented that gave the entire quest a purpose. In early drafts, items called power triangles were placed in the underworld. Finding each one serves as a progress marker in the game. Finding them all completes the quest. The name evolved from power triangles to a triangle with a forceful power. The Triforce. The game's themes and settings were designed to be very sparse, allowing the players at home to be the hero, draw their own conclusions about what to do next, and not be so guided by what the game dictated. However, a concrete story was required to bring the game to life. Miyamoto and Tezuka continued to draft up ideas. An evil wizard who sought the power of the Triforce to conquer the land and imprisoned the right...
That is definitely a scary looking Ganon. And that's a very demure looking Zelda before like we know how she's designed today.
Princess in the process. The bad guy was named Ganon, the kingdom Hyrule, and the princess Zelda, inspired by early 20th century socialite Zelda Fitzgerald. In a world that is mystical and enigmatic, Princess Zelda conveyed many feelings. Someone who was beautiful, powerful, and admired, from a faraway place a long time ago. With that, her name was attached to the game, not Link. Unsure of what the future may bring, and leaving the door open for later sequels, the subtitle, The Hyrule Fantasy, was attached as well. There were still many gaps in the story, leading Miyamoto and Tezuka to recruit Keiji Terui, a screenwriter for the anime series Dragon Ball, to bring the world of Hyrule to life.
Oh, interesting.
A long, long time ago, the world was in an age of chaos. In a little kingdom in the land of Hyrule, a legend was being handed down from generation to generation. The legend of the Triforce. Golden triangles possessing mystical powers.
Ryan, I got a question. Does 7TV have any like chaos emotes from, like Jack Final Fantasy? just asking.
One day, an evil army attacked this peaceful little kingdom and stole the Triforce of Power. This army was led by Ganon, the powerful Prince of Darkness. Fearing his wicked rule, Zelda, the princess of this kingdom, split up the Triforce of Wisdom into 8 fragments and hid them throughout the realm to save the last remaining Triforce from the clutches of the evil Ganon. At the same time, she commanded her most trustworthy nursemaid, Impa, to secretly escape into the land and find...
Yeah, like all these images come from the manual, which makes it really cool to see them like have this all put in like lore-wise.
Find a man with enough courage to destroy the evil Ganon. Upon hearing this, Ganon grew angry, imprisoned the princess, and sent out a party in search of Impa. But wait, all was not lost. A young lad appeared.
Yeah, there we go.
He skillfully drove off Ganon's henchmen and saved Impa from a fate worse than death. His name was Link. Bursting with a sense of justice, Link resolved to save Zelda. But Ganon was a powerful opponent. He held the Triforce of Power, and so in order to fight him,
Link
had to bring the scattered 8 fragments of the Triforce of Wisdom together to rebuild the mystical triangle. If he could not do this, there would be no chance for Link to fight his way into Death Mountain, where Ganon lived. With that prologue, the player as Link sets off on an adventure into a world full of surprises. The design of the game helps the player understand where Link is and what he might do next. The main screen is divided into 2 areas. The playfield on the bottom, where Link can walk around freely, battle enemies, and discover items. And the top part, about 25% of the screen, which contains vital information. On the left is a gray rectangle representing the world map. No geography is defined, but a cursor is used to represent Link and show his movements. In the center are counters for rupees, the in-game currency, keys, and bombs. Next to that are items designated for the B and A buttons. Swords will always default to A, while items used with B are selected from a menu accessed by pushing Start. The menu offers a box to choose the items used with B. Items outside the box are automatically used. The center shows how many pieces of the Triforce have been discovered. On the right side, a health meter is measured in hearts. Damage can accrue by half a heart at minimum and can be refilled easily. When underground in a dungeon, the menu changes slightly, replacing the...
It is kind of cool that they changed it up to like quarter heart damage for later games. I forget, I think that started in Ocarina of Time, but it's like, that's cool. It's like you can measure quarter damage, because that usually wasn't the case like early on when like bats hit you or geese. Like it didn't show damage specifically until then.
Triforce display with a map of the dungeon, showing spaces that have already been explored. When the map item is found, the entire dungeon map becomes visible in the same space as the overworld map on the main screen. This is enhanced with a cursor showing the Triforce location if a compass is found. This setup is very helpful when starting the game. Even without reading the manual, the player can easily understand what to do. Moving around on the first screen communicates how Link moves.
I have to say, like, when I tried this as a kid, I kind of got the idea of what it was asking of me, but it's like, you know, I never had enough time to actually figure it out. It's like, even without much reading, like, acuity at the time, because, like, I was, you know, single digits.
He can enter underground areas through entrances in mountains, and that discovered items are assigned to action buttons. After that, it's easy enough to learn how to use weapons, which leads to more item discovery and world exploration. It's just enough guidance to keep the player from becoming too frustrated at the start, but not enough that it qualifies as hand-holding. Each item acquired along the way opens up the next few steps in the adventure. With bombs, new areas can be uncovered. With keys, locked doors can finally be opened. Candles
felt like it took a lot of effort to actually...
The Water of Life gives you a second, or even third, chance in difficult situations, but only after finding the letter that allows the old woman to sell it to you. For extra protection, there are blue and red rings, which cut incoming damage in half, and then down to 1/4. Boomerangs are helpful in stunning monsters while you attack. For really tough battles, the White Sword and Magical Sword double and quadruple Link's attack power. You can't upgrade swords without enough heart containers, which are earned by clearing each underground level. A few others are found in the field. Link needs the raft or stepladder to find some of these. Certain dungeons remain hidden until the recorder is found. Accessing some caves require the power bracelet. Some areas require bribery. The bow is necessary in order to
grumble.
Each one costs 1 rupee. You cannot finish the game without all 8 pieces of the Triforce and the silver arrow, which serves a special purpose. This allows The Legend of Zelda to feel open
Don't tell.
and free.
Don't spoil it.
Invisible guide rails are always present. Several important items have color variations. The candle, water of life, and ring all appear in blue or red. In each case, blue represents the weaker version, while red is stronger. Other items, as well as Link himself, start at a lower, default green level. This reinforces the idea of different levels of power that are consistent across the entire game world. Many enemies also appear in different colors. Octoroks, Levers, Lynels, Moblins, Tektykes, Gordias, Darknuts, Landmolas, and Wizrobes all exist in both blue and red varieties. Here, the color system is reversed. The red versions are weaker, while the blue ones are stronger. Blue enemies may also drop better items as a reward. A smart player learns these unwritten rules instantly, simply by recognizing color. The disc system provided more memory than ever before, and it shows, with a soundtrack bigger and longer than most games that came before, with themes for the title screen, the overworld, the underworld, Death Mountain, the game over screen, and the ending. The overworld theme is
somewhat
heard
limited
more than any other. With a bright, bold sound, the rolling nature of the melody encourages the player to move forward and explore further. The overworld theme is rather long for a game song, at about 1.5 minutes. With much of Link's time spent above ground, it remains enjoyable without repeating too quickly. This overworld theme is reused for the title screen, though that wasn't always planned. Composer Koji Kondo.
Oh, we're about to hit ad break, so we'll get the explanation for the music, because it's definitely something worth talking about. It's like copyrights and all that. Anyway, be right back. Welcome back, everybody. Also, hey, B-Master, thank you for the raid. I appreciate it. You're playing Pokemon Legends Z8. Ooh. Were you doing, like, post-game stuff, or are you still, like, in the middle of it? And DLC started. Okay. Hold on a second. Let me double check something. Alright. Back to our videos. Okay, we're there. There was... Yeah, here we go.
Had originally envisioned the startup music based on French composer Maurice Ravel's Bolero, written in 1928. Kondo believed the piece was in public domain, but he was off by a few years. At the time, Japanese copyright law protected musical works for 50 years after a composer's death. Ravel passed away in December 1937, meaning the work would not enter the public domain until 1987. It was still protected, forcing a last-minute change.
Yeah, it's like one of the quickest turnarounds for music ever. It's really funny.
The Underworld theme is written to be shorter, to repeat often, with strong bass lines. It closely resembles the underground music in Super Mario Bros., where mood enhances gameplay by creating tension and uncertainty. Death Mountain intensifies this feeling with a faster, more frantic bass line, emphasizing...
Oh yeah, you feel the pressure here.
Nowhere else in the game. The ending theme is bright and bouncy. It's celebratory. It marks the moment when the hero saves the day. The game over music shares only a small fragment of that melody, something most players do not recognize until they reach the ending. Because in both cases, the message is clear. This is where the story ends. Beyond the music, sound effects add excitement to the experience. Explosions, enemy cries, slamming doors, boomerangs cutting through the air, the clink of rupees, and fairies restoring health all reinforce those actions.
Ongo dislikes smoke.
Along with this are musical flourishes that signal when a secret has been uncovered, a new item has been found, or a hard-earned victory has been achieved.
Doodly-doo.
While the efforts of Shigeru Miyamoto, Takashi Tezuka, and Koji Kondo are well known, none of their ideas would have reached the screen without the work of the programming team, led by Toshihiko Nakago, a man responsible for coding many early family computer games. His technical skill helped shape many of the defining traits of The Legend of Zelda. The game's top-down viewpoint led to a visual approach that was unusual at the time. To fill the screen, Nakago and his team relied on detailed tiling techniques. These tiles, small graphic blocks that formed the game's environments, were filled with subtle textures and patterns to suggest depth and terrain. In the Underworld, the tiles are more ornate and structured, signaling that these spaces are artificial and enclosed. The layout and borders help players understand which areas are walkable, which spaces can be moved, and which places lead elsewhere. Perhaps the most important technical feature of The Legend of Zelda, and a major selling point of the disk system, was its ability to save progress. When Link loses all his hearts, the game over screen appears with 3 options. Continue allows the player to restart from the last entrance used. Save records the current progress for future play. Retry sends Link back to the last save point. The game provides 3 save files, each showing a custom name along with the number of heart containers collected and the number of times the file has been played. With so many secrets built into the game, one more was hidden directly in the hardware itself. Controller 2 on the family computer included a built-in microphone. Most players treated the microphone as an afterthought, making Nintendo's decision especially clever. The instruction manual states that Pole's voice hates loud noise. Pole's voice are rabbit-like enemies with large ears found in certain dungeons. While they can be defeated with normal weapons, doing so takes considerable time. Speaking loudly into the microphone defeats them instantly. From the first day of
That's funny. Imagine if you're, if you had to do that all the time just to defeat enemies.
planning, The Legend of Zelda was designed to fill both sides of a single discard. Toshihiko Nakago programmed the game to maximize this space efficiently. The overworld was treated as one continuous area within the game's memory, as all of its regions were interconnected. The underworld, while physically separate, was also managed as one unified area within the code. This efficient organization left a small amount of unused space on the disk. Because of this, additional data could be added late in development. The team used this remaining space to create a second quest that unlocked after completing the main game. This new mode rearranged dungeon layout.
I feel like they did the same thing with Link to the Past also. Like, all the dungeons were sort of interconnected, but separate. I feel like in a Dark World. I don't know if in Light World too, but they had to do some really crazy stuff to make it work. But it was like duct tape and a prayer. And, somehow it pulled through.
Item locations, and enemy placements, offering a more challenging version of the adventure. Since most of the graphics were already in place, only small changes in the game code were needed. With minimal additional memory, Nintendo was able to create what was essentially a second game hidden inside the first, where Link can retrieve the Triforce of Power and defeat Ganon once and for all. By the end of 1985, development on Zelda wrapped up. Nintendo was ready to move into Phase 2 of the family computer. With new hardware, a new storage medium, and an all-new game. At the time, the largest home game ever made. Gearing up for 1986, The Legend of Zelda, the Hyrule Fantasy, was ready to take its first steps into the great unknown.
The first quest, Zelda in Japan. Ultimately, Legend of Zelda is so good because of the game design. If you put in the effort, you'll definitely be rewarded. Oh, from Famicom to Shushin.
With the success of the family computer, a cottage industry of gaming media soon emerged among the mania. Home computer magazines, which had often been used to share programming code and review hardware setups, began covering TV games. These eventually branched off into their own publications. Family Computer Magazine, known as Famimaga for short, was among the first, appearing in the summer of 1985, covering Nintendo exclusively on every page.
Oh, Wrecking Crew.
The first public announcement of Zelda appeared here in its December 1985 issue. Without a single photograph, Famimaga proclaimed that The Legend of Zelda would be the first must-have game of 1986, going into detail about this new and exciting real-time adventure game featuring over 600 screens of gameplay that was impossible on a standard cartridge.
600 screens
followed, including the need to collect golden triangles of power. More news followed in the February 1986 issue, first published on January 8th. An impressive 3-page full-color preview highlighted a nearly finished version of the game. The first page proudly proclaimed, "The disc era has begun," with Zelda as disc.
I like that little mascot for Disk System. Too bad it didn't last that long.
Game number 1. The plot, featuring Link, Zelda, and Ganon, was explained, along with the game's mechanics and some of the items and enemies players would encounter. The Triforce was still referred to as the Power Triangle, and some elements were missing, but it was an exciting sneak peek into Nintendo's first game of 1986. Several pages later, the disk system was shown in great detail, with a full explanation of how it worked, why it was worth investing in, and why discs were the future for Nintendo. The disc writer was also reviewed, including a rundown of how games could be obtained for only 500 yen, and a list of retail locations where disc writer machines were ready to be installed. The issue concluded with a one-on-one discussion between Shigeru Miyamoto and Masanobu Endo of Namco, the creator of Xevious and the Tower of Jiraga. Much of the article had the two reviewing the games of 1985, with heavy emphasis on Super Mario Bros. Some of Miyamoto's design philosophy was discussed, including his belief that making a video game was much like making a movie, and that game...
Oh boy. How topical! He's always been wanting to make a movie out of his video games. And now recently he's been able to do that. You know, at least to some degree that, you know, people will enjoy it.
Design required optimism when facing the realities of programming ideas onto the screen. Zelda was not mentioned by name, but the disk system was. He hinted at the future, saying that with discs, we will see a brand new type of game, something no one has ever seen before. The March 1986 issue of Famimaga, published on February 8th, featured even more coverage on The Legend of Zelda, announcing its release date of February 21st and its price of 2,600 yen. The feature again covered gameplay and emphasized exploration and discovery. Several pages detailed overworld and...
Could have took the disk system audio and rammed it into the Famicom since disk system didn't last. Games-wise and hardware rubber belts, yeah.
underworld enemies, complete with charts.
If only they tried to like implement stuff from it, yeah.
Was left shrouded in mystery. It all led to February 21st, 1986, the debut of the Family Computer Disk System and The Legend of Zelda. A series of TV commercials hit the airwaves, introducing the disk system and Zelda to the masses, starring Tokoro George and Konomi
Was it very complicated, like setup wise? Sounds like it is.
Mashita, who often appeared together on George's show. Printed flyers adorned racks of many game stores as the first copies were placed on shelves. Sales were strong on that very first day, with thousands of happy owners playing as Link for the first time. With the industry still very young, precise figures from the time are not available. According to Famimaga, The Legend of Zelda debuted at number 2 on its sales chart. Starting with a smaller overall user base due to being a disc card game, and facing strong competition, The Legend of Zelda never achieved the distinction of being a number 1.
The exact disc speed, otherwise games air out. Oh no. That's unfortunate.
In Japan. However, sales were steady and word of mouth began to spread. Early players were often struck by how confusing or difficult the game could be, but also by how rewarding it was to explore and satisfying to uncover its secrets. Those early adopters told their friends, and soon everyone was talking about The Legend of Zelda and its many mysteries. More coverage followed in Famimaga. Every issue throughout the spring and summer of 1986 featured pages devoted to the game, eventually covering the entire overworld, most of the underworld, the second quest, and the location of key items. Some secrets were still kept under wraps. Another gaming magazine, Famicom Tsushin, later known as Famitsu, appeared on June 20th, 1986. The coverage of The Legend of Zelda was equally thorough in this new publication. In its very first issue, Famitsu rated the game using a system very different from today's familiar 40-point scale. 4 reviewers evaluated 5 categories: graphics, excitement, impression, depth, and overall, on a 5-point scale, represented by weather icons. No reviewer awarded a perfect score. Tokuma Shoten, the
interesting way to give a score. It's like, I've never seen that before.
Parent company of Famimaga, compiled all the Zelda maps and strategies from issues across 1986 into a single guidebook, a must-have for any serious player. Several publishers later followed through with their own strategy guides. Throughout this period, The Legend of Zelda remained on the Japanese sales charts, staying in the top 10 for much of 1986, as disc system adoption grew. It was the only place for new games. Nintendo had no plans to release games on cartridge ever again. Sales continued into 1987 and beyond through the disc writer service, where 500 yen rewrites kept the game accessible and relevant. Years later, Nintendo reported lifetime Japanese sales of The Legend of Zelda, 920,000 units sold as full-price package discs, and 440,000 disc writer rewrites.
Jeez, a lot of people really wanted to play that game.
It was a significant success, but far
like on a disc, like a rewritten disc.
During Zelda's development, Nintendo had exported the family computer to America. Soon, Link would join Mario overseas.
The second quest, Zelda in America. The open world aspects of the game made for gameplay experiences that had truly groundbreaking depth and variety. Zelda is my favorite game of all time because of those experiences I had playing it. Oh, that's a very nice thing for Howard Phillips to say.
As Shigeru Miyamoto and his team were putting the finishing touches on The Legend of Zelda, Nintendo of America was preparing the overseas version of the family computer, the Nintendo Entertainment System, NES for short. The system went on sale on October 18, 1985, debuting with about a dozen and a half of Nintendo's best games from Japan. Though it was well received by American players from the start, the NES was not a giant success due to its staggered regional rollout. When The Legend of Zelda first went on sale in Japan, the NES was primarily available in New York and California, though some individual retailers in other states managed to join the first wave.
Yeah, so it was like New York and California were like the only real places you could get it in 85, and everywhere else you basically had to wait till 86. Or, some other states might have been adjacent to those states got lucky.
By the summer of 1986, Nintendo was officially distributing to more than 20 American cities, and by the end of the year, the system was available nationwide. With Super Mario Bros. Included as the pack-in game, the NES became the TV game of choice for the rest of the decade. There were early plans to import the family computer disk system, and some media outlets reported on these intentions. However, inside Nintendo of America, there were concerns about splitting the market with a second piece of hardware, distracting from the primary goal of getting the NES into homes, which was progressing well, but not yet complete. While weighing this decision, Nintendo developed a technological breakthrough, a new microchip for family computer and NES cartridges, the Memory Management Controller, MMC for short. The MMC-1 chip extended the system's memory beyond its original limits by allowing the game program to switch between different banks of data. With this technology, cartridge games could reach 1 megabit and beyond. With the MMC-1, cartridges could also include static RAM. Instead of writing directly to a disk, SRAM worked in conjunction with a small battery. When the NES was turned off, the battery supplied enough power to keep the game running. With these improvements, plans for the disk system in America were thrown away, and The Legend of Zelda for the NES was given the green light.
That's kind of cool. It's like maybe we could go back to cartridges. Sounds like discs were, becoming less of a necessity.
Bringing the game from Japan to the United States required many changes. Language was the most obvious. The game contained roughly 25 different message screens that guided Link through his adventure. Few games had ever required so much text to be translated. Early NES titles were short and action-focused, and many had not even been programmed in Japanese to begin with. With the translation came a new font, the same seen in Super Mario Bros., which would become standard throughout the NES era.
Boy, this is really expensive. I'm sure it is.
Converting Zelda from a disc to a cartridge was an even greater challenge. Many of the enhancements that set the Japanese version apart had to be removed. The tones from the additional sound channel used in the disc system version were eliminated. Other sound effects were altered. During this process, certain areas were also refined. On the disc system, some dungeon rooms were completely empty. On the NES, keys were added to increase the challenge and make the dungeons feel more balanced and full. The Pole's voice were reprogrammed to be weak to arrows, as the NES did not
have a
smart.
Yeah.
There were also minor technical differences. The disc system required players to eject and flip the disc to side B during startup, and load times could occasionally be long. The NES version eliminated that. However, to ensure that save data was preserved, a special screen was added, reminding players to hold the reset button while turning the power off. Some of the most important adaptations happened on paper. A small team at Nintendo of America published the first Nintendo Fun Club newsletter, created in response to frequent calls to Nintendo's tip hotline. It answered common questions and shared news about upcoming games. The team was led by Howard Phillips, who selected many early...
And the Manji dungeon was still there, yeah. I mean, it would be a bigger problem if it was angled, but, that smart thing, no one would ever do that.
NES titles from Nintendo's Japanese lineup, and was the first American on record to play The Legend of Zelda. In early 1987, The Legend of Zelda received its first American preview, calling it the best of both...
I have to say, when I first noticed that dungeon, it's like, this looks like it could be something else, but it's not really. I wonder if it was meant to be represented as something else as a kid. I don't know why I felt like I was so smart thinking about that, but it's like, it's like, that was before, I learned about the Second World War and all that.
Worlds, the depth of a computer game with arcade action, and describing it as a game packed in gold. That wasn't just clever wordplay.
Oh yeah, I just thought about it. The Manji, there's a Manji section in one of the dungeons in Alundra. It's harder to tell because, it's, you don't see a full map of it, but as you walk around, it's like, I see.
Nintendo was making a promise by delivering The Legend of Zelda in a gold box with a gold cartridge, packaging that stood out from the rest of the NES library, which were black boxes featuring pixelated artwork, meant to show the advanced high-definition graphics of each game pack. Zelda's presentation went beyond that. Its packaging resembled a hardcover book featuring a simple logo and a shield engraved with a heart, a key, and a lion, with a cutout revealing the gold cartridge inside. A hidden treasure and a world of adventure in a faraway land. In the summer of 1987, Nintendo published the third issue of Fun Club News, which now featured colored photos and was presented as a proper magazine. Artwork from The Legend of Zelda adorned the front cover, and a preview with maps and strategies was inside. Everything was ready to go for August 22nd, 1987, the day The Legend of Zelda was released for the NES in America. The extra love and care of a 1 megabit game in a gold box and cartridge came at a price, $44.95, the most expensive video game ever made up to this point, but definitely worth every cent. A day-parted television ad campaign made it to the airwaves, announcing to everyone that Zelda was here. One featured 2 kids discussing and playing the game. The other featured a man locked away in a dark room, screaming Zelda's name, along with the names of enemies in the game. Both were strange and funny in their own ways, but the most effective marketing still came directly from Nintendo itself. Nintendo Fun Club News continued to publish hints and strategies for The Legend of Zelda. Issues beyond August 1987 covered the 9 bosses of the underworld, secrets of items like the recorder, and more hidden locations in the overworld. The sense of community fostered in the pages of Fun Club News offers a detailed view into the public reception Zelda had in those early days. Readers submitted their own reviews, secrets discovered through trial and error, and voted for their favorite games. For the very first ranking, The Legend of Zelda was number 1 by a large margin. The dominance continued in later issues. For those who felt that Fun Club News did not offer enough Zelda coverage, the Tokuma Shoten Strategy Guide was translated into English by Nintendo of America and sold as a standalone guide, Zelda Tips and Tactics.
That is really smart of them to do, honestly. It's like one of the first few strategy guides that came into being.
Across 100 pages, the guide detailed every step of the game, but still encouraged players to work some things out on their own by including a tearaway map of Hyrule with stickers to mark fairies, money games, and other locations as the game was played. Back in Japan, Famitsu magazine tracked sales of NES games, despite no such records existing stateside. Zelda debuted at number 3, then quickly moved to number 1. Newer games occasionally bumped it down a few spots, but it often returned to bestseller status and never left the top 10.
Wheel of Fortune's in the top 10, that's funny.
All those sales numbers added up, making The Golden Game a platinum seller, the first game of the NES era to sell over 1 million units. In 1988, that was about 1 in 4 Nintendo households. In mid-1988, Fun Club News expanded into a full-fledged bi-monthly 100-page magazine, Nintendo Power, a massive jump from the 10-page pamphlet with monochrome drawings just 1 year earlier. The first issue of the new magazine had Super Mario Bros. 2 on the cover. Inside, however, was a full spread on Zelda's second quest, something that had only been mentioned briefly throughout the previous year of coverage, but was now fully revealed. For the first time, readers could access the most obscure secrets from the most difficult parts of the game. After a year on sale, The Legend of Zelda began to step back from its prominence as newer games took the spotlight. But in the pages of Nintendo Power, Zelda continued to appear in the Counselor's Corner and Classified Information sections. The Power Chart was also a place where Zelda could always be found. In the very first issue of Nintendo Power, the game ranked at number 1. The charts were based on a combination of sales data and readers' opinions. Both reflected the staying power of The Legend of Zelda, which found itself back at the number 1 position from time to time.
Yeah, like, I feel like it's 1 and 2 for Super Mario Bros. 3 and Zelda. Like, it constantly swaps places.
Zelda
I'm surprised Final Fantasy kept a spot in the top 20 for a bit.
Staying in print to the very end. With lifetime sales of over 4.5 million units, the second best-selling standalone NES game of all time. In December 1994, Nintendo Power featured NES coverage for the last time. On the final 8-bit Power Chart.
Yeah, let's look at this right now. It's like Legend of Zelda, Mario Bros. 3, Mega Man 6. Of course, Mega Man 6 would be on there. Metroid, NES Tournament Golf, Zelda 2. It's amazing, like, it's stuck for that way for so long. Dr. Mario, Final Fantasy made it in the top 10. Baseball Stars, Tecmo Super Bowl, Tetris 2 at like 13 and 14. Dragon Warrior 4 was like in the top 20. Zoda's Revenge, Star Tropics 2, Mega Man 5. Yeah, that's not. That's a pretty, like, cool list. A lot of sports games.
Zelda ranked number 1 yet again, with the longest streak in the history of the magazine. 75 consecutive months.
75 months, that's crazy.
For the first million-selling game to go out on top.
Success of The Adventures of Link. Oh, need to see this. If I could live in any Nintendo world and be a Nintendo character, the one I want to be is Link. The Zelda series is my favorite series, so that's where I want to be. So true, Reggie.
The success of The Legend of Zelda confirmed what Shigeru Miyamoto knew all along, that a huge open-world game would have appeal. He was also right about Zelda becoming a franchise in its own right. Almost as soon as Zelda debuted, plans for a sequel were underway. Not even 12 months later, on January 14, 1987, The Adventure of Link arrived for the disk system. The new game was very different, with horizontally scrolling levels, an experience point-based leveling system, magic spells, no rupees, and villages with very talkative townsfolk. There was now a third Triforce, and the goal was not to defeat Ganon, but to keep him from rising from the dead. The Hyrule fantasy was dropped, and the series itself began to be known as The Legend of Zelda, with The Adventure of Link being the only game to be numbered in the series. A third game, A Link to the Past for the Super Famicom in 1991 and Super NES in 92, set many elements of the series in stone forever. A return to the top-down format, parallel light and dark worlds, and more focused, systematic dungeon designs. The story was more developed, and the game was filled with dialogue from start to finish. A Link to the Past also made huge changes to the Zelda timeline, suggesting that there were many Zeldas and Links in the universe. From there, the series continued to expand to every piece of Nintendo hardware.
Zelda multiverse.
Save for the Virtual Boy. Many of the games in the series, such as
Would have been cool to see a Virtual Boy Zelda game.
have received perfect scores across the board and are often called the greatest games of all time, both then and now. But the original Legend of Zelda continues to come back time and again, proving that over 40 years later, the game can still grab an audience, whether it's being played for the first time or 500th. With advancements in cartridge technology, which coincidentally allowed Nintendo to bring Zelda to the NES, cartridges larger than a full disc started to appear around 1987, and later MMC chips pulled off graphical tricks that the disc system could not.
Oh yeah,
Super Mario Bros. 3 in October.
This far exceeds what a disc could do back then. It's like, you're just running around, flying up there. It's like everything's just moving around without much lag. It's like
1988 was Nintendo's triumphant return to cartridges, and the Family Computer disk system was eventually phased out. In 1994, Nintendo redesigned the Family Computer, now featuring AV outputs, detachable controllers, and a look similar to the Super Famicom. Two final games were released on February 19th, Wario's Woods and a re-release of The Legend of Zelda, now known as Zelda 1. The game ran with some of the American changes, such as different music and arrows defeating Pole's voice, but it was still the Zelda everyone knew and loved. Even though the game was basically the same, Nintendo of Japan has always considered this a separate release from the disk system version. Despite going on sale in 1994, Zelda 1 still managed to sell 330,000 units.
a third of a million is like,
Nintendo
that's not
released
bad.
An unusual peripheral for the Super Famicom, Satellaview. The add-on received satellite transmissions of playable video game data. Games were broadcast on a set schedule, like weekly TV programs. Beginning in August 1995, a special remake of The Legend of Zelda was broadcast, BS Zelda. The game was not a direct remake. The overworld and underworld maps were different, and the game ran on a timer, but it shared the gameplay mechanics of the original. The graphics were improved to match Super Famicom quality, creating the closest thing to a Mario All-Stars style presentation that Zelda would ever receive. Players could also choose between a boy or girl character, though neither were officially Link or Zelda. BS Zelda included live voice acting. During broadcasts, gameplay would occasionally stop while the old man's voice played through the TV, offering advice or story enhancements. Multiple versions of BS Zelda, each with different maps, were broadcast until 1997. The Legend of Zelda was one of the final Game & Watch systems, released in 1989 as a dual.
Oh, that's interesting.
The Game & Watch did its best to replicate the original Zelda, complete with boss battles, but the game was still limited. Today, this Game & Watch is very rare, but you can play this version of Zelda on the Game Boy Advance as part of Game & Watch Gallery 4, unlocked after collecting 160 stars. In 2021,
for
Nintendo released a new
Mario
version of Game &
64,
Watch with
I
Zelda
guess?
1 and 2, Link's Awakening, and a new version of the classic Vermin, with Link as the playable character. There are also alarm clock features and a new countdown timer game, with the challenge of defeating as many enemies as possible in a 10-minute time frame. In 2003, a limited edition Zelda collection was released on the GameCube in all regions around the world. The disc featured the original Zelda, The Adventure of Link, Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, a demo of The Wind Waker, and a highlight reel of the series. It was never sold formally and
Like, literally, you had to collect all the Zelda games up to then on a collection, basically. Because, like, you had the Game Boy Player, and you could play the Game Boy Color games, the Game Boy game, and just, like, you had it all there with you. That kind of makes the GameCube pretty cool in a way, but not many people knew about, like, how diverse and, like, you know, interesting the GameCube became. It's just like, oh, it's a lunchbox.
was distributed through confusing, short-lived promotions. In Japan, it cost 500 Club Nintendo points. In the US, it was included with renewed subscriptions of Nintendo Power and in some GameCube bundles. In the UK and Australia, it was a send-away after buying other GameCube game titles. Today, the disc is a highly sought-after collectible, proof that not only were you a true Zelda fan, but also earning those stripes by maneuvering the crazy ways to acquire the collection. To celebrate the 20th anniversary of the family computer, Nintendo reissued many classics on the Game Boy Advance as the Famicom Mini series. The Legend of Zelda was included in the first batch of 10 games released in February 2004. None of them had enhancements. The idea was to play the 80s way. In Japan, the games came in clear cases with miniature replica boxes and manuals. Overseas, these games were known as the Classic NES series and had an artwork style that reflected the original packaging.
Yeah, the
Except
black box
Zelda came in a
versions.
black box, not gold. The mid-2000s saw a classic gaming revival, with Virtual Console leading the way, offering hundreds of classic games. The Legend of Zelda was available on day one in every major region. Later, the game appeared again on Virtual Console for 3DS and Wii U, as well as the Classic Mini. When those were retired and replaced by Nintendo Classics for the Switch in 2018, Zelda was once again among the first batch of titles.
No surprise
yes,
there.
If the hardware has a microphone, you can defeat Pole's voice with it. The game was also the very first title released on the service in an SP version. From the start, Link has the White Sword, Magical Shield, Blue Ring, Power Bracelet, 8 heart containers, maxed out rupees, keys, and bombs.
That's more
All
like
of the
6.
Triforce pieces and items in the underworld are still waiting.
I think you meant to say 6, but whatever.
Zelda really helps out younger players, who may be more accustomed to games with easier learning curves, as well as longtime veterans who maybe don't have as much time to play as they used to, with a helping hand to complete the game in between personal errands. With the Switch 2 being backwards compatible and inheriting Nintendo classics, the re-releases of Zelda may have reached their end. So at least take comfort in knowing that The Legend of Zelda and all our other favorites from the 80s and 90s have a safe home on modern hardware forever.
I'll thank goodness for that. It's like, that's comforting to hear. The gold standard. The Legend of Zelda invented a genre which captivated a gaming generation. Yeah.
When I look back at The Legend of Zelda, all these decades later, it begins and ends with that gold cartridge. Of course, the game inside is what really matters. It was fun, extremely long, and very challenging. Finishing it was extremely rewarding. But there was more to it than that. It was the entire package. The color manual, the artwork, the attention to detail that said, yes, this is a game, but it's also an experience, a unique one. It was Nintendo saying, we cared enough about you, and this, to make it this way. It felt like the game's value was literally backed by gold. Over 40 years later, there are still elements of the original Legend of Zelda that are fixtures of the adventure genre. Leveled items, weapons, and enemies, confusing dungeons, secrets that seem impossible but make sense once you figure them out, a fantasy world on the brink, and Triforce-like items that serve as a goal. They all come from that very first Zelda game, probably because it fits so perfectly and set so many rules in place that you couldn't have a proper adventure without them. Much like how Mario became shorthand for scrolling action games, pointing to any adventure game and saying, it's like Zelda, is just easier than any other explanation. In 1987, The Legend of Zelda was a hidden treasure. Today, it stands as the starting point for adventure games. Put the two together, and it sums everything up nicely. The Legend of Zelda is the gold standard.
It's amazing to think, like, Zelda just holds a part of my, memories and brain rent-free for all these years. And, even as a little kid, I still wanted to try to, do well in it, but I couldn't until years later. Like, I emulated Zelda 1, like, in the early 2000s. I wanted to beat it because, like, it kept me, like, thinking about it all the time. It's like, when I did, it's like, I'm satisfied now. But I think that's enough reacting for today. If I had started sooner, I'd probably have more energy, but I just, I'm still trying to, like, take it easy, not push myself too hard. So I'm going to call it there. I already have a raid target. So we're going to raid Sonari. They're just playing through Pokemon ZA extra content. So you just give them some support. Anyway, see y'all later. Have a great rest of your night. I guess I'll be curious about the Pokemon stuff tomorrow. Anyway, take care. Goodbye.